Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto was swordsman of the mist. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Sinisteruto and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. Revelation. Naruto frowned thoughtfully, a look of contemplation plastered on his facial features. The situation he found himself in was not one he thought any other person could say that they had found themselves in, unless this kind of thing happened to everyone who had died, which he pretty much doubted. It seemed that somehow, he had been transported to, or otherwise resurrected in either a different timeline, or different dimension or both. The last thing he remembered was his final battle with Madara. He and the old man had fought long and hard, cancelling each other out for most of the battle. It seemed the old man was even greater than legend had made him out to be, and had managed to counter everything that Naruto had thrown at him, but even through all that, Naruto never once doubted that he would win. He always knew that no matter what happened, and no matter how strong the true founder of Akatsuki seemed to be, that he would have a weakness that Naruto would eventually find and exploit. But things didn't quite work out that well. Kakashi and Guy were defeated and killed by Obito, and Naruto ended up having to fight both Obito and his sensei, Madara, a deadly combination that had caused even his unwavering determination and unending optimism to shatter into microscopic pieces. Eventually, Naruto was overpowered and sucked into Obito's Kamui. Kurama, with his and Naruto's remaining chakra reserves, had used the rare ninja art, yin-yang release to try and manipulate the space-time manipulation of Kamui to their advantage, but the result of using an art that he barely knew of from his memories of the Sage of the Six Paths was something neither Kurama or Naruto could have expected. Back then, I thought I had died from chakra exhaustion, or at least, I should have died from chakra exhaustion, but it seems like I have been transported to an alternate timeline sometime during the Third Shinobi World War, and it appears as though I am no longer a Jinchuriki. Wait a minute. If I am now living in that era, that means that mom is still alive and she's the Jinchuriki, thought Naruto with wide eyes. What's wrong with this kid? He ain't answering any of our questions, just sitting there with a stupid expression on his face. You think he's retarded? Asked Hoshigaki Kisame with a toothy grin, a monstrous-looking teenager with light blue skin, wide eyes, sharpened shark-like teeth and dark blue fin-styled hair, also spotting a set of gills on either of his cheeks. The 15-year-old is wearing black shinobi pants, striped leg warmers, and blue ninja sandals on his lower half, spotting a dark blue sleeveless top with a large belt wrapped around his torso, a belt that holds a giant sword that is attached to his back. The sword itself is wrapped in white bandages, only exposing the hilt of the word, which has a small skull at the edge of the handle. This is Hoshigaki Kisame, thought Naruto with wide eyes, fearing for his life, a life that he now realized hinged at the mercy of the most sadistic member of the Akatsuki. No, what am I worried about? If recall what Aoba said correctly, then Kisame does not meet Obito until he kills his master. Wait, he already has Samehada, that means he is already allied with the Akatsuki, thought Naruto, trying with all his might to control his emotions, which was something, regrettably, he was never good at, silently making a vow to make that one of the first things he would work on if he managed to survive. Oi, Kisame. Stop scaring the poor kid, just look at him, it almost seems like his heart is about to collapse any second now. Admonished Hazuki Mangetsu mockingly, a 13-year-old shinobi swordman prodigy from the Hazuki clan with long white hair, purple eyes, and the shark-like teeth of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. He is wearing a black sleeveless top with grey shinobi pants, striped leg warmers and black ninja sandals. On his right hand is one of the legendary swords of the mist, the Nabari, which he was using to restrain the blonde Uzumaki with, using the wire thread of the needle-shaped sword to bind the blonde former Jinchuriki, the thread sinking into the boy who looked no older than 10 years old painfully, causing blood-leaking wounds on his flesh. Held by a belt around Mangestu's waist is a scroll that contains the other legendary swords of the Hidden Mist Village, namely, the Haramakai, the Lightning Dual Fangs, the Shibuki, and the Kabutoari. No, I must relax. If I am not mistaken, I should not be born yet in this timeline. Kisame doesn't know who I am and Akatsuki are still recruiting members, they have not started hunting tailed beasts yet. I'll be safe as long as I play my cards right, thought Naruto, taking a deep breath in order to calm his nerves down. So I'm inside an interrogation chamber in the 7 ninja swordsmen's headquarters, or base of operations. As long as they don't have mind transfer techniques, I should be able to hide my past or future. No future, but then it's my past. Arg. This is so confusing, thought the 10-year-old looking prodigy, who is actually 16 years old mentally. Well, you must have made quite an impression on him, Kisame. I guess I shouldn't be surprised, you do seem to have that kind of relationship with most brats, said the leader of the organization, Momochi Zabuza, a 14-year-old prodigy with short, spiky black hair with dark eyes and small eyebrows, wearing white bandages around the lower half of his face, with a Kiri forehead protector worn sideways across his head. He is wearing black sleeveless shirt with matching pants and sandals and striped leg warmers. Across his torso is a thick belt holding the giant cleaver that is attached to his back, the kubikirabacho. Please don't hurt me. I'm just an orphan trying to survive in the harsh wilderness. I haven't hurt anyone or done anything to you. Please don't hurt me. Cried Naruto pathetically, trying to play the innocent boy card, even using the puppy eyes technique in order to appeal to the goodness in the hearts of the most sadistic group of shinobi in the elemental nations. Nice try, Kozo. Had it been anyone else, you might have successfully fooled us. That was the most impressive Act 1 have ever seen. Demo, I'm a censor type shinobi, you see, and so is Kisum, and there are only 2 people alive that I know of with more chakra than you, and you're only 10 years old if I'm not mistaken. You're no ordinary kid, we can tell that much. The way I see it, you only have 2 choices. 1, tell us everything you know and everything about yourself, and we will decide what to do with you based on the story you tell. 2, tell us lies or don't say anything at all, and we play a game where we see who amongst us can torture the information out of you. Please choose the latter, said Mangetsu with a bloodthirsty smirk, scaring the living daylights out of the blonde Uzumaki. Guzo, they saw right through me. I guess I have no choice but to talk, but I can't tell them everything, I'll just have to improvise. Thought Naruto analytically. Okay. I'll talk, where do you want me to start? Asked the blonde Uzumaki. Why don't you start with your name? Demanded Zabuza authoritatively. Uzumaki Naruto of the late Uzumaki clan. Said Naruto simply, causing the trio's eyes to widen in surprise. And Uzumaki, haha, I guess that would also explain the ridiculous chakra reserves, so you're a survivor of that clan, huh? How interesting, thought Mangetsu out loud. Interesting indeed, but also very suspicious. What were you doing in Kiri territory? I would have thought in Uzumaki would be looking to get into fire country, wasn't your home village allied with Konoha? Questioned Kisum curiously. Hi, but you see, I have only recently found out about my origins, like I said, I am an orphan. Replied Naruto simply. And how did you find out about that? Demanded Zabuza. Well, I was raised by an old sage who recently passed away, leaving me to fend on my own. I don't think I have to tell you that he knew of my origins. Equivocated the blonde impressively and successfully. It isn't like he was really lying, Jiraiya knew of his origins and had died recently in his timeline dimension. Also Jiraiya had known exactly who Naruto was. Even though Jiraiya never revealed such information to him, Naruto still managed to word it in a manner that would lead to the trio believing that he did, without Naruto actually saying that he did. I see, so that means you have been trained in the arts of ninjutsu. Tell us about your skills and what happened before we found you passed out. Asked Mangetsu curiously. Ah well, I'm quite adept at wind-style techniques, clone techniques, and shape manipulation. That's about it really. Replied Naruto with a small frown, realizing just how little his ninjutsu repointer was. What kind of Uzumaki doesn't know any sealing or barrier techniques? Didn't this sage you were traveling with have even a basic knowledge of those arts? Asked Zabuza with slight disappointment. It wasn't a secret that the ninja swordsmen of Kiri were facing tough times recently. 4 members had recently died in an attempt to overthrow the tyrant of Amizukage, Yugura, and only Kisum had managed to return alive. Kisum was one of the youngest members of the organization after killing his traitorous sensei and was only involved in the plan because of the power of the Samehada. Zabuza and Mangetsu however had not been involved, they were deemed too young and tasked with rebuilding the organization should the others fail to kill the Mizukage. After killing the supposed traitors, Yugura had ordered the remaining swordsmen to rebuild a more loyal organization and was so impressed that Kisum had been able to fend so well against him that he offered him a place back in the organization if he were to accept to be the Mizukage's successor and right-hand man. Zabuza did not intend to disappoint the Mizukage, he had every intention of rebuilding the organization, but with a completely different purpose. This organization would not be loyal to the Mizukage, it would be loyal to him, and they would help him overthrow the current Mizukage. Zabuza's plan was to become the 5th Mizukage and build a stronger and better Kiri. To just randomly stumble upon an Uzumaki, this is either a dream or the heavens must be on my side as well. And Uzumaki could be just what we need to defeat Yugura. The sealing arts of that clan could come in handy when fighting a Jinchuriki. Thought Zabuza. Actually, he just never bothered to teach them to me for some unknown reason, thought Naruto out loud with a disturbed expression showing on his face. Come to think about it, Mom said that seals and barriers were our specialty, our equivalent to a Kekkei Jinkei, yet no one even bothered to at least let me know of this, much less teach me. Why does it seem like everyone was trying their best to limit my growth? How much more obvious could it be? My Jonin sensei was the Yondaime student and my master was said to have been a sealing master, yet none of them even mentioned sealing during training, even though they knew I was in Uzumaki. Maybe I could have countered Obito's Kamui somehow if I had been able to use his seals and barriers. Thought Naruto furiously. Tell me kid, have you ever thought about joining a hidden village before? We could use someone like you in our organization, and it seems like you could use some one-on-one training as well. Tell you what, we'll not only let you live, but we'll even let you in on our 7 ninja swordsman training. You'll get to wield one of the 4 remaining swords that are unaccounted for. Also during that training period, you'll be given access to all the sealing and barrier techniques that Kiri has collected over the years. Finally, when your training has been completed, we'll allow you to travel back to the ruins of your homeland to see if you can't find any lost treasures, secret jutsu or heirlooms of the Uzumaki clan. When you have returned, we will allow you to help us create a stronger, better, and more peaceful Kiri. If you join us, you may very well become a legend amongst legends, and you will contribute to the creation of a peaceful shinobi world, but if you refuse our offer, you will die right here, and now what say you? Asked a demon of the mist in a demanding but at the same time indifferent voice, trying to hide the eagerness in his tone. So that's it, I either join or I die. I guess I have no choice in the matter, I'll have to join if I want to survive, besides, it's not like I can go back to Konoha now, it would be too suspicious, and they would interrogate me with a mind transfer ninjutsu and find out all of my secrets. I'll have to work towards world peace from within the mist, besides, Konoha is shrouded in a lot of darkness, now that I think about it, it is not the shining beacon that we were all led to believe. Pain, Itachi, Sasuke, me, and even Mom, all of us have suffered because of Konoha. Thought Naruto bitterly. Also, I can't go around using Rasengan, people will get suspicious of me using the Yondaime Hokage's jutsu, and it won't be hard to realize my relation to him given our clone-like physical appearance. I also can't use Sage Mode as openly and freely, as I was using it back then in the future. I'll only be able to use it in situations where I know that everyone who has seen it will die, can't let that kind of information leak out. So no Rasengan and no Sage Mode, and a weaker body that needs to be retrained almost from scratch. I guess I really do need this training. Fine then, I'll become a ninja swordsman of the mist and surpass all previous generations, and I will become the Godame Mizukage. I've always been fascinated by those gigantic swords and the teeth are so cool. I can't believe I'm finally gonna look like that. Thought Naruto with giddy anticipation. That's the best deal I could have hoped for, fine then, I'll join your organization, Zabuza-senpai. Exclaimed Naruto with a toothy grin. Look at that, the kid seems to have found his confidence. I wonder if he'll have the same expression when the Torde training begins. Said Kisame with a sadistic grin causing Naruto to grin even wider. Bring it on, Kisame-sensei. I don't care how much pain you put me through, as long as it will make me stronger, then I'll embrace it. Responded the blonde with a toothy grin. Kisame is going to betray the organization and side with Yagura, or rather Obito. I'll have to find a way to get him on my side, or kill him if necessary. Also, if I'm not mistaken, Obito will attack Konoha in just over 2 years. I'll have to get strong enough to stop him when the time comes. I may not be a Konoha shinobi anymore, but I can't allow Kacchan to just simply die when I can do something about it. Thought Naruto with a determined expression. We'll see about that. First lesson, how to make better teeth. Said Zabuza, molding 5 hand seals slowly so that the blonde could get them all, walking closer to the blonde as he did so until he was crouching down in front of him, placing his right hand at the blonde's jawline. This is the first technique you have to learn, Sharkman's jaw technique. Exclaimed Zabuza with a sinister smile, chuckling maliciously at the blonde's expense. The blonde screams of horror and agony, snuffing out the sounds of the trio's laughter. Let this be a permanent mark that will remind you of who you are. From this day on you will thrive in the thrill of battle, smile at the sight of death, and bask in the blood of our enemies. You will remember, no matter where you go, and no matter what you do, that you are first and foremost a murderer, a ruthless and merciless killer who will do and risk even your soul for the benefit of your people. From this day onwards, you are Uzumaki Naruto of the 7 ninja swordsmen, and you are the wielder of the Kabuto Ari. Exclaimed Zabuza with elation, this was one speech he would never get tired of. Ayarg. Gwa. Screamed Naruto in agony, feelings of doubt creeping into his consciousness as the interior of his mouth was painfully reconstructed. What the hell have I gotten myself into, thought Naruto fearfully. Then Chapter 2. The Kyuubi attack. If I remember correctly, this is the place that Obito extracted Kurama from Kacchan while Dad was busy finding a safe place to hide me. This is perfect, I'll just hide out here and attack Obito just before he extracts the Biju. I'll have to make it quick though, I don't fancy a 3-way fight with the fake Madara and the Yellow Flash. Thought a 12-year-old Naruto out loud. He'd grown a lot since his swordsman training, definitely a lot taller and more muscular than he used to be, and a lot stronger too, both physically and ninjutsu-wise, compliments of the Shadow Clone training. He was wearing a sleeveless blue shirt with black shinobi pants and matching sandals, also wearing striped leg warmers with a brown weapons pouch on his right leg. A huge mallet-like weapon is attached to his back with golden-colored chains, with a slight glow to them. One thing he was thankful for was that even without the Kyuubi, he still had a ridiculous amount of chakra, and it seemed Kurama's regeneration properties were still a part of him, which made his training a lot easier and faster. True to his promise, Zabuza along with Kisame and Mangetsu had trained him in the secret arts of the ninja swordsman, teaching him all standard swordsman water techniques and their sword fighting styles, even the famous silent killing method. Zabuza also beseeched a man called Ao to teach Naruto about the barriers and seals of Kiri, a knowledge that he went on to improve upon with the knowledge that he obtained in the ruins of Yuzushiogakure no Sado. He'd even managed to create his own arsenal of space-time ninjutsu thanks to the knowledge he obtained in Yuzu, one he named the splitting void migration technique and the other called the slash-throat migration technique. Both jutsu were executed through a set of seals that were placed on his torso, ironically in the same spot that the four-symbol seal that held Kurama used to be. The seals were similar in the manner that they worked but different at the same time, similar in the sense that both seals worked in a similar manner to a navigator, constantly calculating and recalculating the coordinates of Naruto's position and the position that he wanted to transport himself to, in other words, the coordinates of the exact location where he wanted to open a portal in. This is a facet Naruto had added onto the seal in order to make the two jutsu battle usable, as he wouldn't be able to fight and calculate coordinates during battle. He would die before he came close to even teleporting had that been the case. This way however, the seal did the job for him, and all he had to focus on was the battle itself. The difference between the two jutsu was simple, one was an instant transportation from one point to another, in other words, simply opening a space-time tunnel to another location, whereas the other was more similar to Kamui, open a dark portal that split the space in a manner reminiscent of a slash-throat. The portal would lead to another dimension that Naruto had created with his space-time manipulation. This one allowed him to counter ninjutsu by opening this portal in front him, sending the jutsu to another dimension altogether. The jutsu was slower than the splitting void migration, but had a much wider area of effect. Basically, instead of placing markers on people, weapons, and surfaces like his father did, Naruto simply calculates coordinates with his seal and subsequently jumps to that location. I'll have the element of surprise in this situation, if I time my attack perfectly, I could end this once and for all. Thought Naruto as the golden chains attached to his giant mallet burst out in all directions around him, forming a square barrier that soon disappeared into nothingness along with him, Naruto activating an advanced cloaking barrier. 0000000000000. Gushi-chan arigato. You've given me a wonderful daughter, she looks just as beautiful as you, it's amazing. Exclaimed Minato happily as he held his wife's hand affectionately. Minato-koi, muttered Kushina with a cute blush, a look of gratitude and adoration visible on her facial features. Right. Before anything else, let me repair the seal quickly, said Minato joyously, moving to place his hand over the seal, only to be abruptly interrupted, a loud death scream echoing throughout the cave, Sarutobi Bawako and her assistant, Taji, falling dead on the ground. Minato turned around only for his and Kushina's eyes to widen in horror at the sight before them, a man wearing a red spiral mask with long, hooded cloak, somehow having breached the barrier that was set up without their knowledge, but even worse, holding their newborn daughter at kunai point. Namikaze, Minato, step away from the Jinchuriki or your daughter will die at the ripe old age of 2 minutes, threatened the figure in a gruff and sinister tone. Wait a minute, don't do anything hasty, try to relax. Oh, I'm very relaxed, Yondaime Hokage, if anything, you're the one that seems to be in a panic, trailed off the masked figure, throwing baby Natsumi up into the air before jumping up after her, kunai in hand poised to stab the baby through the skull, only to miss by an inch as the yellow flash sunshine passed him, taking baby Natsumi with him as he embraced her like she was a lost treasure. Very fast, you truly live up to the yellow flash moniker, but what would you do now, drawled the masked figure, placing his right hand in a ram hand seal, activating the explosive tags that were attached to Natsumi's baby blanket. Kuzo. Cursed the Yondaime, however, with his super fast reflexes, able to detach the blanket from the baby, throw it away towards the masked figure, and jump out of the cave before the implosives detonated, creating quite a huge explosion that completely decimated the cave. He used Natsumi to separate me and Kushina-chan, that can only mean one thing, he's after the Kyuubi. Thought a surprised Minato, eyes wide in realization. But I have to get Natsumi to safety first, hold on just a little longer, Kushi-chan. Thought Minato with determination, disappearing from the spot that he had landed on, leaving behind a small breeze of air behind, instantly appearing at his house in the outskirts of the village inside Natsumi's room. I'm going to leave you on your own for a little while, Dad has to go and get mommy back from the bad guy, just hold on a little bit, I'll bring mommy back to you, I promise, said Minato, placing baby Natsumi inside her crib, giving her a light kiss on the forehead and then disappearing again, using the flying thunder god technique to transport himself back to his wife, hoping to get there in time to save her. 00000000000. Minato uses a complex sealing formula to teleport between locations that he has managed to mark and has incorporated that same sealing formula into the seal that contains the Kyuubi he wanted to be able to protect you at all times, yet I have managed to separate you from him, said the masked figure with his right hand in a ram hand sign, executing a complex sealing jutsu that held Cushing tightly bound in between two pillars. Who are you and what do you want with the Kyuubi, breathed out Kushina in her weakened state from trying to hold back the Kyuubi while giving birth. I will extract the Kyuubi from you and use it to destroy Konoha. With the Kyuubi under my control, you people will have no hope. Exclaimed the masked figure, making direct eye contact with Kushina, the Tamo in his Sharingan spinning rapidly. This is it. This is the moment I've been waiting for. Thought Naruto, using the splitting void migration to teleport himself to the masked figure's location, attacking him from his blind spot with instantaneous speed, swinging the Kabuto-Ari violently and mercilessly, slamming hard into the unsuspecting masked man's back. The power behind the swing, combined with the monstrous power of the mallet itself, which is said to be able to break any and all defenses, was so great that the masked figure flew at speeds that would make Shunshin no Shishui jealous, so much so that the man flew for 600 meters before crashing into a mountainside, smashing right through the mountain and slamming head first into the ground, unable to even activate his space-time migration, falling into a near-death-like state almost instantly. The middle of his torso completely blown off along with his organs, the only thing keeping him alive being Hashirama Senju cells that were implanted into him, but even that wouldn't keep him alive for more than 5 minutes, with his heart exposed to the world, beating slower and slower by the minute. Guzo? Toby's in trouble, I think he might be dead. Shut up, I'm trying to concentrate. Thought White and Black Zetsu respectively, the contrast of personalities clashing as usual. I can still sense his chakra, quickly, make a sporulation clone, and have it merge with him. We can't afford for him to die. Alright. I'm already on it. I'll have him back on his feet in no time at all. Thought Zetsu from his hiding spot on the ground, using his Mayfly technique to completely extinguish his chakra signature by merging with the earth. The sealing jutsu that was holding Kushina in place vanished almost instantly, causing her to fall face first into the dirt, only to be caught in a bridal embrace, moments before she made connection with the hard and unforgiving surface. Are you alright? Asked Naruto with a small smile, asking what he knew to be a rhetorical question. She was definitely alive and was going to live no matter what, he would make sure of that. Arigato Minato-kun, I love you so much. Answered Kushina with a dazzling smile, happy that the love of her life had come through for her once again. Sorry, but I'm afraid that you have mistaken me for someone else. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, I am a distant relative of yours. Said Naruto smoothly, lying through his teeth yet at the same time not lying at all. His real mother was in another timeline, and this woman had given birth to someone else, so technically, she wasn't his mother, yet at the same time he was still in Uzumaki, and hence was a relative of hers. He used the phrase distant relative, simply because he was from a distant timeline, and hence, Kushina, even with her shinobi prowess, was unable to detect any lies from him. What exclaimed Kushina in surprise, finding it hard to believe what the man had just told her. In fact, taking a closer look, Kushina realized that indeed this wasn't her Minato-koi. For one, this was not even a man, but a young boy who could not have been over the age of 14, and he had whisker-like markings on his cheeks that Minato-koi didn't have. In fact, if she didn't know any better, she could have sworn that he was Minato's son. Cried out Kushina in shock, trying to wriggle herself out of the blonde Uzumaki's embrace. What's wrong, is it the Kyuubi? Asked Naruto with concern. Why you're Minato's illegitimate child aren't you? That bastard. How could he do this to me? Exclaimed Kushina furiously, completely overreacting in light of the situation. What? No way, stop jumping to conclusions like that. I told you I'm your distant relative, I'm from the Uzumaki clan. Retorted Naruto in a panic. Yeah, and I'm the sage of the 6 paths. There's no such thing as an Uzumaki with blonde hair, my kinsmen have always had red hair. Retorted a livid Kushina. So what, I'm the exception. Besides, only one of my parents was in Uzumaki. Even so, our bloodline is dormant, it should have Kai'a. Screamed out Kushina in agony. What is it? What's wrong? Asked Naruto frantically. It's the seal the Kyuubi's trying to break out. Go get Minato, hurry. Exclaimed Kushina with a pained and concerned expression. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. Said Naruto, placing Kushina on the floor gently. This seal is a secret kinjutsu of the Uzumaki clan, if I am able to repair the seal, it will prove to her that I am a true Uzumaki. Thought Naruto, unable to believe how close Kushina was to hitting the bullseye about his identity. Alright, here goes nothing. Said Naruto, placing his right hand over the seal after going through a set of hand seals that had Kushina's eyes wide as surprise, recognizing exactly what jutsu the blonde boy who saved her life was using on her. The blonde put his fingers on the seal and twisted his hand in an anti-clockwise direction, tightening the seal that was holding the Kyuubi back. You really are. And Uzumaki, yes, I told you so didn't I? Asked Naruto with an I told you so expression, offering his hand to Kushina, pulling up a pouting Kushina back to her feet. How was I supposed to know? I've never seen an Uzumaki quite like you before, nor have I heard of one. Whined a stubborn Kushina, looking away from the blonde with her head held high. Ah-chan, I'm so happy that you're okay, even if you can't be my mother in this timeline, just knowing that you're okay and happy is more than okay for me, even though it hurts a lot. Thought Naruto, looking at Kushina with eyes full of affection, causing Kushina, who had just turned around to look back at the blonde to avert her eyes from him, a light blush forming on her cheeks. Why is he looking at me like that? Could he have developed an infatuation for me already, or has he been stalking me? I mean, how did he know to come here and save me? Thought Kushina in horror, her wild imagination getting the better of her. Dad has marked her with his Horatian formula, and he should be arriving anytime soon now. If I am caught here when he arrives, he'll mistake me for the enemy and attack me. I better get going now. Thought Naruto. It has been nice meeting you Kushina-sama, but I best be going now. I need to check on the body, gotta confirm that the masked guy is really dead. Said Naruto. Wait. I'll come with you. Said Kushina hastily, not wanting to let her savior out of her sights just yet, especially considering who and what he is to her, but it was too late because Naruto already had his technique activated, the blonde disappearing into a portal and instantly jumping to a different location in the direction that he'd sent the masked man. 0000000000000. Kuzo? What the hell was that? I'm pretty sure that Minato-sensei has never placed a tag on me, and I was at a far enough distance from Kushina that he couldn't have accidentally teleported to my blind spot. So what? Obito's only visible eye widened in surprise when he sensed a new presence arriving, a blonde kid manifesting himself from a space-time void right in front of him, a boy that he very much recognized too. This is Uzumaki Naruto. This is the boy that was apprenticed to that organization. Kisame told me he went back to the old whirlpool ruins on a personal errand. What is he doing here then, and what is that jutsu? Thought Obito wearily. Up until that moment, Obito could have told you that he knew almost everything about the boy, that he was in Uzumaki, that he was good with wind and water style jutsu, that he was a member of the 7 ninja swordsmen of Kiri, that he was good at kinjutsu, that he was learning seals and barriers from Ao. In fact, Obito had allowed all of this to happen, not without reason of course. If the boy continued to grow as fast as he had been growing and continued to improve on his natural talent, then he could have become one of his Akatsuki recruits along with Kisame, and they would have made a very potent team, having trained together in that organization and all. Zabuza and Mangetsu were the pawns that he planned to use to get the boy on his side. The pain of loss was always a good tool to use as motivation, and with the bloodline purges that he planned to implement a few years from now, Naruto would have been dancing under his palm before he knew it. Uzumaki Naruto, what a surprise, I did not expect to meet someone like you here. Said the masked man casually, as if his cloak and shirt were not blown and torn up from the earlier assault that he was subjected to, revealing a however uninjured torso. This is weird, I was sure that I blew out his organs with the Kabutoari, and his torn outfit seems to be proof of my attack. Also, I was able to use a minuscule amount of Sage Chakra to monitor his chakra signature. The one moment his signature was weak and almost completely vanquished, and the next thing he is completely restored. Does he have self-healing like Tsunade? Thought the blonde wearily. Their plan has failed, you were unable to extract the Kyuubi, and I have repaired Kushina-sama's seal. You have no hope because I'm going to kill you right now and right here at Obito. Stated Naruto matter-of-factly, causing the masked man's one visible eye to widen in surprise. Lasaka, you just who are you? And how do you know about me? Demanded a completely surprised Obito, a foreboding feeling settling at the pit of his soul. I make it my business to investigate the mysteries of the shinobi world, beyond that, I owe you no explanations. Replied Naruto, ending the conversation prematurely, now adopting a battle-ready stance and expression. Alright, 2 things I have to remember. 1, I have to aim for the moment where he attacks, because he has to materialize himself in order to touch me, and 2, I have to aim for the moment when he tries to suck himself in to escape, because he has to materialize himself before he can suck himself in, and he takes longer to suck himself in than he does to suck in other people, and it will be a bit tricky, but I'll get him. Thought Naruto, summoning the axe of the Kabutoari from a seal on his left wrist and subsequently dropping the weapon onto the surface of the earth, the heavy weapon creating a sizable dent on the surface, showing just how heavy the weapon was. How did he know I would be here today? How did he know I wanted the Kyuubi? And how does he know my true identity? Thought Obito frantically. Nevertheless, this guy knows too much about me already, I'll have to kill him right here, I can't afford to let him escape. Thought a furious Obito. I won't allow anyone to interfere, it will be a battle between just the two of us. said Naruto, blazing through a set of hand seals quickly before stopping at a ram hand seal. As soon as he finished, the golden chains that were attached to the Kabutoari expanded and multiplied, forming a huge dome-like barrier around the duo. Minato-sensei teleports within the space around his jutsu formulae. I see, he intends to stop Minato-sensei's marked kunai from getting anywhere near us. This way, he won't be able to teleport to us and interfere with the battle. He intends to take me down on his own, thought Obito. You think that you can defeat me on your own? You're underestimating me, Uzumaki Naruto, said Obito ominously. So you know who I am, huh? Just as I thought, you're the one controlling Yagura with a Jinjutsu, isn't that right, Obito? Asked Naruto rhetorically. Of course, he already knew that from the time Aoba read Kisam's mind in his timeline, but he had to pretend that he'd only confirmed it right now for appearance's sake. Can't have people knowing that he was from the future now, could he? Obito on the other hand twitched irritably. This little brat was going to ruin everything. First he stopped Konoha's Kyuubi attack prematurely, then he discovered his true identity, and now he knew about the Mizukage. This day was just getting worse and worse by the second. That barrier that is the Uzumaki clan's yin-yang release, the power to give form and durability to chakra, the power to create non-living objects out of physical energy alone, and then use that same physical energy to supplement sealing and barrier techniques. But how this is Kushina's jutsu, where could he have learned it? Me and Zetsu already checked the Yuzu ruins and found absolutely nothing. Where could he have come across this type of ninjutsu? Thought Obito, fear creeping out from the depths of his heart, watching in awe as the chains extended from the axe of the Kabutoari and formed a huge dome-like barrier around the duo. There. Found you, I won't let you get away, Dadabane. Thought Kushina, running in the direction of the dome hastily, not prepared to lose her only connection to her former home, not willing to lose what could be her only living relative. Those are the yin-yang release chains, Naruto-kun, you really are what the hell, Dadabane. Thought a shocked Kushina, once again, caught in a bridal-style embrace by a blonde-haired and blue-eyed male figure. Are you alright, Kushi-chan? Where's that masked guy? Asked Minato in quick succession. Minato-kun, hurry, we have to go and help him, he saved me from the masked guy, Dadabane. Exclaimed a flustered Kushina. What? Go where, help who? Asked Minato hastily. Look behind you, Baka. We have to go and save my cousin. Exclaimed Kushina in frustration. Minato, heeding his wife's advice, turned around and, to his utter surprise, saw a giant barrier made of golden chains. That's Kushina's jutsu, but how? Thought Minato before his eyes widened in realization, Kushina's earlier words replaying in his mind like a mantra. Did you say cousin? Asked Minato, looking at his wife with a scrutinizing stare. Yes, that's what I said, Dadabane. Arg. Sometimes you can be so slow. Exclaimed Kushina in exasperation. Now hurry, we have to save him. Ordered Kushina. Oh okay, but let me fix your seal before we. The seal is fine. Naruto-kun fixed it. Cut in Kushina. But how, that is in Uzumaki clan's secret jutsu. How could he? Never mind. Replied Minato hastily, realizing just how stupid that sounded. After all, she did just say that this Naruto person was her cousin, so if anyone, he would know how to fix in Uzumaki kinjutsu. Alright, I'll help your cousin, you take care of Natsumi so long. Said Minato, forming a one-handed ram hand sign. No, I have to. Kushina never got to finish what she wanted to say, disappearing from Minato's embrace in an instant, Minato teleporting her back to their house, inside Natsumi's room, and next to her crib to be exact. I'm sorry, Kushi-chan, but you're not in any condition to fight right now, also, you're that masked guy's target, it is better that you stay far away from this battle. I'll save your cousin for you, I promise, thought Minato out loud, staring at the barrier with an analytical mind. If he's setting up something like that, then he must be trying to stop anyone from interfering with the battle. Unfortunately, I'm not just anyone. Thought Minato with determination, throwing a tri-pronged kunai towards the barrier at blinding speeds. Who is the masked guy? How did he know that Kushina's seal would weaken during childbirth? How did he break through a Konoha's secret barrier without detection? Is he related to Uchiha Madara? And why does he want to do with the Kyuubi? These are questions I need answers for in order to properly protect my family and village, and the answers are inside that barrier. Thought Minato before vanishing from the spot on which he was standing with the Flying Thunder God technique. Uzumaki Naruto, you've matured and grown into a thorn on my backside, not the flower that I had planned for you to blossom into. It looks like I'm going to have to kill you, what a shame, you would have made such a useful pawn. Said the Obito venomously, connecting a handcuff chain to both of his wrists. So you were planning to use me like you did the Mizukage, like you're using Kisame-senpai? Asked Naruto, causing Obito's lone visible eye to widen in horror. It's over for you, Obito, nothing you do is ever going to succeed. I have already converted Kisame-senpai to my side, and I have marked the Mizukage with a space tracking seal. I will find him and release him from your Jinjutsu, you have absolutely no hope. said Naruto victoriously, slamming the painful reality at the masked figure of Obito. He was lying through his teeth though, there was no such thing as a space tracking seal, at least not yet. It was a jutsu he was working on, a jutsu that was maybe a few years away from being completed. He just told Obito that he'd mark the Mizukage so that he wouldn't return to Yagura's side again, for fear that Naruto would be able to find and attack him at will if he did. The story about earning Kisam's loyalty was also a lie, he hadn't even talked to Kisam about peace yet, nor had he mentioned anything to him about Obito, but Obito didn't have to know about that, he was going to die anyway, and even if he survived and managed to escape, he would probably not be returning to Kiri anytime soon, because he would believe that he'd lost the Sanbi and lost Kisam's loyalty as well. As far as he would be concerned, there would be nothing in Kiri for him to return to, and that would buy Naruto enough time to do something about Kisam and to remove the Jinjutsu placed on Yagura. Still, I'll probably be forced to get rid of Kisam anyway. It will be impossible to trust a man who has killed so many of his own comrades, even if it was under orders from the Mizukage. Also, for all I know, he could take my side only to end up acting as a double or even triple agent. In the end, his past actions have made his character too questionable. Right now, he's just a loose end that must be cut down, after all, how can I trust a man who doesn't even know who he is? Thought Naruto. Bastard. Just who the hell are you? Exclaimed Obito, uncharacteristically losing his composure. Oh, I thought you knew already, I'm the guy that's going to kill you. Shouted Naruto, running at the masked Obito purposefully. HN, we'll see about that. Exclaimed Obito viciously, running at the blonde Uzumaki with equal vigor. I remember this strategy, it's the same one that he used to defeat me in the future. If I'm not mistaken, he's going to allow me to phase through him, and then he's going to materialize himself and trap me with those chakra absorption chains. In that case, I'll get him as soon as he materializes himself. Thought Naruto, attempting to use his super reflexes to slam his mallet against his adversary's face, only to phase through the mysterious figure. But, true to Naruto's prediction, Obito materialized himself and pulled his arms around his torso, hoping to capture the blonde Uzumaki with his chain technique and have him at his mercy. Gotcha. Thought Naruto with a devious smirk. Naruto disappeared a split second before he made contact with the chains into a void in the space, appearing right in front of the masked Obito, who had absolutely no chance to react at all, the blonde smashing the mallet of the Kabuto-Ari against Obito's mask with all his might. Wah! Cried Obito in shock and pain. So unexpected was the attack that he didn't even get a chance to prepare for the impact, which was good if you were on Naruto's side, because Obito would have just made himself intangible if he'd had that chance. The power behind the attack was so great that it reshaped the whole terrain, the whole earth caving in on itself as Obito flew away, his body digging a long and deep trench on the ground. That was a direct hit to the head. It's over, his head should be completely obliterated, he won't survive that. Thought a self-assured Naruto, however, still not willing to let his guard down against such a formidable foe, waiting on full alert and eagerly for the dust and debris to settle down so that he could confirm his kill. It was also because of this kind of vigilance that Naruto was able to avoid an unexpected attack from his blind spot, teleporting himself to a spot 8 meters away from where he was standing on the right side, which placed him at a position where he could anticipate an attack from both the direction that Obito's body had landed and where the new threat had just recently landed. That was close, how did you break through my barrier, Yondaime Hokage? Asked Naruto curiously, not really sure whether to be surprised or not considering who he was dealing with here. It seems you have intel about my jutsu somehow, why don't you try and figure it out yourself, Naruto-san? Retorted Minato with narrowed eyes. Oh, what made you come to that conclusion? Asked Naruto, cocking his head to side with a curious gaze. You double-layered that barrier and made it so that it was 8 meters thick, and right now, you're standing exactly 8 meters away from me. That says a lot about how much you know about me, it's no coincidence that the limit of my jutsu just so happens to be 7 meters. You were counting on the fact that I can only warp myself at the maximum of 7 square meters of the space around my jutsu formula, therefore, because the barrier was 8 meters thick, you concluded that I would be unable to bypass it and attack you. Explained Minato, tightening his hand on the kunai that he was holding to calm his nerves, the same kunai that he had caught just before it made contact with Naruto when he teleported to it. Seems like I might have underestimated you, so tell me, just how did you manage to bypass my barrier? Asked an intrigued Naruto. You made a common mistake, thinking that I only know how to warp myself and other people, demo that is very far from the truth. Explained Minato vaguely, not willing to give away some of his secrets needlessly. I see then, that means you can warp the space around your jutsu formula itself, in other words, you must have continuously warped the immediate space around your kunai as it traveled, which would have allowed the kunai to phase right through the barrier, or rather, to pass through the opening that you warped when your kunai made contact with my barrier. And then, when the kunai had entered the space on the other side of the barrier, you simply warped yourself to that same kunai. Impressive, I never thought you could use the Hiraishin like that, this jutsu is more versatile than I thought. Praised Naruto, genuinely impressed with the versatility of his father's jutsu. Liar, you already thought that I could do that, you just were not sure about your theory. You used this barrier as a means to find out more about my technique, as a sort of test. The best part of your plan is that you also knew that as Hokage, I would have no choice but to infiltrate your barrier in order to gain the information required to protect my village. You're very manipulative individual Naruto-san. Said Minato, shamelessly accusing the blonde Uzumaki. A very insightful individual you are indeed Minato-san, demo I was hoping that you would stay away from this and rather take care of Kushina-sama. She is the last living Uzumaki I know of besides myself, and she is the heiress of our clan, because of that, she is very precious to me. Go to her side and make sure she is okay, I will handle everything here. Ordered Naruto. I need to get him out of here, I'd prefer he doesn't find out about Obito, it will just cause needless pain and confusion, and he might turn against me if he realizes that I just killed his former student. Thought Naruto wearily. Kushina-chan's safety is my priority, why do you think I have come here? The information I gather here might help me do a better job protecting her in the future. Also, it would be to her benefit if I can eliminate the masked guy right here and now. Argued Minato. So I won't be able to get you to back down, huh? Asked Naruto. No, you won't, I will do this with or without your consent. The only thing you can do for me is to either help me or stay out of the way. I'd prefer if you just stayed out of this, you're just a kid, there is no need for you to risk your life needlessly. Replied Minato seriously. How cocky, did you forget that I was the one who saved your wife for you? That guy would have extracted the Kyuubi, Kushina-sama would be dead, and your village would be under attack by the Kyuubi if I hadn't interceded, and now you think you can act all high and mighty over me? Asked a bewildered Naruto. That's not it, Kushi-chan pleaded that I protect you and return you to her safely, she doesn't want to lose the last link she has to her former home, she was really worried about you. Explained Minato. She pleaded for him to save me, Chika-chan, you have such a pure heart. Thought Naruto nostalgically. You say that now, yet you attacked me only a few minutes ago. Stated Naruto matter-of-factly. When Kushina told me that you were her cousin, I thought that if you're anything like her, you'd be incredibly stubborn and refuse to back down. So I thought I would incapacitate you and take you back to Kushina while I deal with the masked guy. Explained Minato. Incapacitate me? Yeah right, you meant to capture me didn't you? Retorted Naruto. Well, we can't afford to let you join our shinobi forces without following standard protocol, you'll have to go through a standard interrogation to ascertain your intentions with Konoha. Explained Minato defensively. I see, then let me ask you this, who said I wanted to join your hidden village? Asked Naruto rhetorically. What? But I thought. Thought what? That I would become just another one of Konoha's puppets. You must be out of your mind. Listen carefully Minato, what I did here today was not for Konoha, it was solely for Kushina-sama, I have absolutely no interest in joining your village. Replied Naruto with a serious expression, shocking Minato considerably, the yellow flash mentally cursing himself for jumping to conclusions. I'm sorry, but I cannot allow you to just leave like that, Kushina-chan would be devastated. Oh please. Stop using her as a scapegoat to justify your actions, you want to capture me to use my Uzumaki lineage for Konoha, also, you think that'll be a lose end if I leave because I know too much. I can see right through you. Exclaimed Naruto in exasperation. That may be true, but that does not change the facts, Kushina would be devastated if you just left like that. Also, I don't understand why you are so much against joining Konoha, the Uzumaki clan were once our dear allies, some of them even considered Konoha home away from home in the past. Why do you have so much animosity towards us? Asked Minato curiously. I have my reasons, that's all I have to say to Naruto sensing a presence manifesting behind himself, spun around with his impressive reflexes, swinging his mallet against Obito, only for his attack to phase through the back of Obito's head, who was rising up from below the surface using his intangibility. Obito, sensing that the mallet had completely phased through, swiftly spun around and caught the blonde's wrist firmly, making eye contact with the blonde with his now exposed face on display. The real battle begins now, and it's over. Exclaimed Obito, activating his space-time migration from his right eye and sucking the blonde into his dimension in an instant, trapping him there for the foreseeable future, closing the portal after he was sure that the troublesome brat was gone. And Naruto? What did you do to him? Asked Minato hysterically. He has gone to a better place, you can join him too if you want, in fact, I insist that you do, Minato-sensei. Replied Obito nonchalantly, not feeling the need to pretend anymore, now that his mask was broken. Good thing he didn't know about the durability of the special material that my mask was made of, otherwise I would be dead now. thought a relieved Obito. "Oh Obito, is that you?" asked a wide-eyed Minato, shock written clearer than the sun itself all over his face. "HN, you still recognize me even WTH this disfigured face, you have good eyes, Minato-sensei," said Obito with an uncaring tone. End chapter. Chapter 3. "Obito, no way, you must be an impostor, Obito is definitely dead," retorted Minato with conviction, struggling or maybe even simply refusing to believe what he was seeing with his own two eyes. "Yes, and I suppose that you were there when I supposedly died, you witnessed my death with your own eyes, and you did an autopsy on my body before you buried me, right, Minato-sensei?" asked Obito with condensing sarcasm. "And no well, that's not it," Minato stuttered. "Actually, now that I think about it, he does have quite a point. Kakashi and Rin were the last ones to see Obito, and he was alive the last time they saw or touched him, all they saw were a number of rocks falling over him. Namely, they just assumed he was dead because anyone else would and should have died under the same conditions, unless that person has the ability to phase through solid objects," thought Minato. Also, it was reported that Obito's right side had been crushed by a boulder when he offered Kakashi his other eye, and this guy not only looks like Obito, but has a disfigured right side of the face. Which means. "Oh," was Obito's only response, cocking his head to the side curiously. "It is not your physical appearance or even your body that I'm doubting, killing Sandaime Sama's wife and her assistant along with 4 black orbs, trying to do the same to Kushina and Natsumi, attempting to steal the Kyuubi and attacking the Yondaime Hokage. All of these acts constitute the highest level of treason, Obito would have never done something like that, the real Obito loved Konoha and its people with all of his heart, he was a kind, gentle, and peace-loving person, he even had a dream to become the next Hokage. You're not him, Obito would never do the things that you did here today," replied Minato in denial, even though, deep down, he knew what he was seeing to be the truth. "This guy has the ability to phase through solid objects, I suppose if he was really Obito, it could be argued that he survived the rock avalanche by phasing through the rocks that were falling on him, but still. So you're finding it hard to believe that your own student would attempt to kill you and your family? HN, as if you have a right to be surprised, none of this would have happened if you'd been a good sensei and not left your team to fend for themselves. Because of your careless attitude, Rin died and I also could have been killed, did you really think there wouldn't be any consequences for your actions?" asked Obito rhetorically. "You and Rin were already Chunin, and Kakashi was a Jonin, you were experienced enough to handle yourselves, you didn't even need a Jonin sensei by that time, Chunin and Jonin level shinobi are expected to lead teams on their own at times when it becomes necessary. Also, it's not like I didn't want to be there for my students, just that, my hands were full with a whole Iowa battalion at the time, I did return as soon as I could though, but it was too little too late. In any case, I guess you really are Obito, and all of these crimes you're committing are for your revenge because Rin died, isn't that right, Obito?" asked Minato with narrowed eyes. "Revenge huh? Close, but not quite, you're thinking way too small, why would I go through all that trouble for something as petty as revenge? You've got it all wrong Minato-sensei, my intentions are far more noble than that, I'm not that shallow you know despite what you may believe," replied Obito. Okay, his character is completely different, he seems a lot calmer and smarter than Obito used to be, but he has spoken about some things that only Obito would know, and judging from his reaction when I mentioned Rin, he's definitely Obito," thought Minato. "And, if not for revenge, why do all of this?" asked Minato. "I don't expect you to understand or agree with me, but I'll tell you, since you're about to die anyway. Minato-sensei, this world is cruel, corrupt, and incredibly flawed, a world where people can attain their own happiness at the expense of others, a world that sacrifices too many people for the happiness of a few. Those who have suffered start wars for revenge against those who have gained at their expense, and then those who had revenge taken against them start more wars for their own justice, and so, the cycle of hatred continues throughout the ages. I have decided that I am sick and tired of this world that only provides opportunities for pain and suffering, and so, my long-term plan is to create a perfect world. A world without pain, a world without suffering, a world without casualties, a world without sacrifices, a world without tears, a united shinobi world, and a world where Rin can be alive and happy again," explained Obito. "A world where Rin is alive again?" asked Minato in surprise. "Hi, I don't care about this world anymore, why should I, when I can create a whole new one where everything is perfect? That goes for you too, Minato-sensei, it doesn't matter if I kill you, Kushina-san, and your daughter to further my ambitions, because you will live again with your family in my perfect world. You once said that you believed that the world would one day be united, and you said that would be followed by an everlasting peace. If this is what you truly believe, then why don't you hand over the Kyuubi, surrender yourself, and allow me to proceed with my plan, better yet, why don't you join me? Think about it, you and I have the same dream, we shouldn't be fighting against each other, we should be working together," If we can combine our power and resources, we could achieve our goals sooner rather than later," proposed Obito charismatically. "The world is not good enough and so destroy it and build a new and perfect one. That sounds like something a divine being would do, except you're not that divine being, you're just a human," retorted Minato. "Yes, but together, we can reach the heights of divinity, we can overthrow this cruel god that exists and recreate the world as we see fit. We can become the gods of the new world. Think about it, Minato-sensei, you don't have to do it for yourself, just think about all the pain and suffering that your wife had to endure in this cursed world, all the hate and malice that was directed towards her as a Jinchuriki. Think about your daughter, what kind of future do you think she has in this cursed shinobi world? Her life was in danger only a few minutes after her birth, and she almost lost her mother before ever getting the chance to know her. This life is fickle and feeble in its entirety and promises nothing but pain and suffering, but you can change that, we can change that. If you truly love your family and friends, you'll join me and help me create a better world for them," offered Obito convincingly. "I see, I think I finally understand him, he has really grown up, hasn't he, and so have his dreams and objectives. Rather than becoming Hokage and ensuring peace for Konoha, he has expanded his vision to include the whole of humanity itself, namely, he seeks not only peace for his own people, but for the world itself. I would have been proud if his methods were not so inhumane," thought Minato nostalgically. "Okay, I'll join you, but only after you share all the details of your plan step by step and don't leave anything out, I'll know if you do," declared Minato. "Alright, I will tell you everything you want to know, but only after you prove your loyalty and dedication to our cause," trailed off Obito with a sinister undertone. "What do you want me to do?" asked Minato, eyes narrowed in suspicion. "Deliver the Kyuubi, and I shall tell you everything. As a symbol and a laborer of peace, one must be able to extinguish their individuality and thus think and act in a way that benefits the world as a whole, even if the requirement is to forsake your own heart or the lives of your loved ones. In other words, our mission is one of unwavering faith and enormous self-sacrifice. Henceforth, your compliance to my request would be the ultimate declaration of loyalty, and I would reward such loyalty with the ultimate declaration of trust by sharing all my secrets with you," explained Obito with complete seriousness, something he had not quite displayed before as Minato's student. "So what will do, Minato-sensei? Is your wife more important to you than the world's peace?" asked Obito, adopting a relaxed posture with his right hand on his waist and his head cocked to the side curiously. "I thought so. He needs the power of the Kyuubi to complete his objectives, without it, his plans either can't be fulfilled at all or have a significantly lower chance of success," analyzed Minato. "I see, in that case the answer is no," replied Minato with finality. "Just as I thought, I'm going to have to kill you after all, too bad, we would have made a potent team, Minato-sensei," lamented Obito, shaking his head in mock sadness. "I do not know what you plan to do or how exactly you plan to create peace in the ninja world, but if you need to kill Kushina, destroy Konoha, and obtain the Kyuubi's power, then, as a loving husband and father, and as the Yondaime Hokage, I can't possibly, in my right mind, support you and your methods, it is thereby my responsibility to stop you," replied Minato, adopting a battle stance with a Hiraishin kunai held with his left hand in a reverse grip. "I wasn't asking you to help me as any of those things, I was asking you to help me as my sensei," retorted Obito, emphasizing the word sensei with dramatic effect. "A nice try, but you're not the same Obito, and you also have another mentor, one that you clearly hold in higher regard than me, isn't that right?" Obito asked Minato rhetorically, Obito's eyes widening in surprise at his sensei's great analytical skills. A very interesting analysis, what gave it away?" asked Obito with genuine curiosity. "Just like a master engineer is able to differentiate between his work and someone else's, or when someone else has tinkered with his work, so can a teacher with regards to the work he has done with his student," explained Minato philosophically. "I see," was all Obito said, learning, once again, something new from his former sensei. "So what was it like?" asked Minato cryptically. "What are you talking about?" asked Obito. "Learning under the great Uchiha Madara, what was it like?" asked a dead serious Minato, searching and analyzing Obito's facial expressions with intense scrutiny. "How did why you know," stuttered Obito, eyes wide in horror, utterly confused and unable to understand how his former sensei could have possibly gotten his hands on that kind of information. The only way he could have known would have been if Zetsu had betrayed him and told the Yondaime Hokage. But that is impossible, Zetsu would never betray Madara-sensei, but then how was it Uzumaki Naruto who told him? But how would he? He does seem to know a lot more than he should though. Kuzo. This is not good," thought Obito wearily. "I didn't know for sure up until now, thanks for confirming my suspicions though," replied Minato with a victorious smirk. "The bastard. You tricked me." Yes, I did. I am a shinobi after all. It's part of my job description. Did you forget everything I taught you, Obito?" replied Minato, admonishing his former student for forgetting one of the most basic shinobi teachings. "I underestimated you, I should have known better. However, I am very curious, what do you know about that man?" asked Obito. "That man? Uchiha Madara, what exactly do you know about him?" asked Obito. "You're trying to find out whether I really figured out your secret on my own or if someone else informed me about it, meaning you have other allies besides Madara and you're now starting to doubt their loyalty to you and your cause. Am I right, Obito?" responded Minato. Obito right there and then decided to end all conversation with his former teacher, finally realizing just how dangerous even a simple conversation was against an opponent of this caliber. "He's planting seeds of thought in my mind with words alone so that I can doubt myself and my own allies. Not only that, he is able to use every question and response to make quick and concise analogies about me and the secrets that I hold dear. He clearly has a lot more experience than I do, from here on out, our ninjutsu alone must do the talking," thought Obito, unwillingly but reasonably admitting defeat in the art of psychological warfare. "No comment. There is no need for me to exchange words with you anymore, you're already dead, you just don't know it yet," said Obito as he adopted his own battle stance. "I see, in that case," trailed off Minato, throwing a lightning-infused kunai at the unmasked Obito with blinding speed. The attack was of course useless, the kunai phasing through Obito's body before crashing and sinking into the ground 10 meters away from his position. The Hiraishin kunai infused with lightning oscillations in order to increase speed and penetration. "I see, he's trying to find out if there is a speed limitation to the activation of my intangibility before he goes into battle. A smart move, even as useless as it may be," thought Obito. "You won't defeat me if that is all you've got. People like you, who are unwilling to make any sacrifices for a greater good, should just give up," exclaimed Obito, running at top speed towards Minato, eyes blazing with purpose and determination. Minato didn't hesitate either, also running at full speed towards his adversary. Close combat was his specialty after all, usually, his biggest concern would be when the enemy tried to distance himself as much as possible, however, it made things a whole lot easier if the enemy came to him of his own accord. Student and teacher clashed a split second later, or at least would have clashed if Obito didn't activate his intangibility technique. As a result, Minato's attempt to stab Obito through the chest was a complete failure, the Yondaime Hokage phasing through the rogue Uchiha's body. Obito was also quick to react by pulling the chains attached to his wrist across his body, hoping to trap Minato and suppress his chakra with the chains. Minato wouldn't have been able to use his teleportation technique or any other technique for that matter if he had been caught by the chakra-absorbing chains, but fortunately for him, he was fast enough and wise enough to teleport away from the danger before it became too late. Obito was a little surprised when he didn't feel Minato's weight against the chains, but was relatively quick to get over it, realizing that it wasn't entirely out of the physical realms of possibility, given who he was fighting against and given the fact that Naruto had escaped the same maneuver only a few minutes ago. "Just as I thought, he made himself intangible to defend against my attack, but he had to solidify himself in order to launch a counter-attack. Also, that maneuver was meant to use my speed for his own benefit, the faster the enemy is, the harder it will be for said person to react to the chains," thought Minato from a crouching position that he had landed in after teleporting, turning around and standing tall to face his opponent again. "I thought that kunai he threw earlier was to test how fast I can activate my jutsu, but I was wrong. He only made it seem like that, but what he was really doing was setting up another marker to teleport to," thought Obito, noting that Minato was now actually standing over the trench that the kunai dug into the earth. "Tell me, Obito, why did Madara send you to get the Kyuubi, why didn't he come here himself?" asked Minato. "I'm his apprentice, unlike you, he has never doubted my ability as a shinobi, he believes in me," replied Obito simply. "Really? I have a different theory, I think that Madara is not here because he is unable to be here. Just thinking about it, Uchiha Madara would have to be close to 90 years of age by now, he couldn't possibly be anywhere near fit enough to go into battle with anyone. Therefore, there are only two possible scenarios, 1, you plan to use the Kyuubi's raw physical energy and life force to re-energize him, or, he is already dead, and you plan to resurrect him in your so-called perfect world, the same way that you plan to revive Rin," theorized Minato, once again, paying close attention to Obito's emotional reaction, something that, unfortunately for Obito, was not as easy to hide without his mask. "Once again, a very interesting and concise analogy, but very irrelevant for a dead man," replied Obito with feigned nonchalance, in actuality, his nerves were close to breaking point. Minato's theories may not have been pinpoint accurate, but they might as well have been, given how much he was able to glean from such a limited amount of information. I suppose it doesn't matter, Inoichi-san will just have to extract everything out of your mind once I have captured you," said Minato matter-of-factly, once again, adopting a battle-ready stance. His space-time ninjutsu surpasses both mine and Nidaime-sama, and he has quite a dangerous ideology too. I can't afford to lose to him here, thousands and maybe millions of lives may depend on the outcome of this battle," thought Minato. "I'm the one that's going to extract Kushina's whereabouts from your mind and then I'll turn you into a corpse," exclaimed Obito, preparing to propel himself for one last attack. That idea was however thrown out the window almost as soon as Obito spoke it, a sense of fear creeping up the rogue Uchiha's spine as he stared at the unbelievable sight in the air, right between the two combatants, the sky splitting up in a manner reminiscent of a slit throat to reveal a dark void that opened up enough for a human being to pass through. What is that? Is that another of his Jikigen ninjutsu? Thought Minato wearily, making sure that his guard was up on full alert. Obito on the other hand used the Sharingan's ability to try and assess the nature and source of the jutsu, and needless to say, the results were more than shocking. The chakra in that jutsu seems familiar somehow. No way, it can't be, thought Obito fearfully, his mind struggling to come to terms with optical information provided by his own Sharingan, but he had no choice but to believe, because no sooner had his mind rebuked the very possibility did the blonde 13-year-old appear from the void, walking out to the very edge of the portal so that he could look out at the other two space-time ninjutsu practitioners. And so that they could see him too, of course. "I appreciate you allowing me to tour your dimension, Obito, but there are far more important things that I'd rather be doing than touring an empty storage room," said Naruto nonchalantly, as if he wasn't supposed to be locked in another dimension with no way to ever return again until he died of starvation and/or dehydration. "Naruto, you're back," exclaimed Minato happily. "You seem to have a knack for stating the blatantly obvious," replied Naruto snidely. Not waiting for a response, the blonde Uzumaki quickly jumped out of the dark abyss as the portal snapped shut behind him and then disappearing altogether. Following the deactivation of the /throat migration technique, the blonde used a splitting void migration to teleport himself to a safe distance from both of his presumed adversaries, standing away to Minato's right-hand side and Obito's left-hand side. "Uzumaki Naruto, I am 100% sure that I captured you, how is it possible that you are here?" demanded Obito. "Let us see, I'm here because I don't seem to remember," said Naruto mockingly, causing Obito and even Minato to twitch irritably, both waiting in anticipation for an explanation, only to be brought back to reality harshly. A shinobi never reveals his secrets, that was one of the most basic and well-known shinobi rules. Naruto almost wanted to laugh at the two elder shinobi's reactions to his response, but this was hardly the time to be joking around, so he was able to successfully hold it in. Escaping from Toby's dimension was not as much of a walk in the park as he made it seem. In fact, for a little while, he'd been genuinely worried that he may have lost to Obito again and that this time, there would be no lucky dimension time hopping escapades. After all, that kind of luck could only happen 0 times in a person's lifetime, for it to happen twice was just unfathomable. Initially, he tried to use the splitting void migration to get back to the battlefield, but then the technique didn't seem to work inside Toby's dimension. He just kept appearing in the same spot over and over again every time he tried to jump back to Earth. Of course, being the genius that he is and knowing the ins and outs of his own technique, it wasn't long before he discovered exactly what the problem was. It was actually simple. The splitting void migration required the calculation of the coordinates of the destination in order to be effective, but Earth geographics did not apply to a different and enclosed dimension. The jutsu required that you know where you are, but more importantly, where you were going, and therefore wouldn't work in a completely enclosed dimension. However, the /throat migration was a little different, whereas splitting void opened a tunnel straight to another location, /throat opened a tunnel to its own dimension. Therefore, Naruto didn't have to know how to calculate Earth coordinates from the Kamui dimension. With the /throat migration, he could just open a tunnel straight to his own dimension. And then from there, he could go back to the Earth since he had already figured out how to do that from the /throat dimension. Of course, this was done only after giving himself a nice little tour inside the Kamui dimension. He'd been hoping to find something, anything important that Obito might have stored in there, but he was unable to find anything. Whatever, how you return doesn't really matter, I won't make the same mistake twice. Next time, I'll kill you the instant I lay my hands on you," replied Obito. "I don't know how you survived my first attack, but I know it was your mask that saved you the second time. This time, I'll be sure to finish you off," replied Naruto, adopting a battle stance with the Kabuto-Ari mallet held out in front of him and his legs bent a little at the knees for propulsion. "Wait, Naruto," shouted Minato hastily. "I'll deal with you later, Minato-san, go back to your wife," ordered Naruto irritably. We can go and see her together once I have taken care of Obito. He is my former student, it is my responsibility to take care of him, at least allow me to atone for my mistake, you'll understand one day when you have your own students," retorted Minato. "Besides, I promised Kushina that I would bring you back to her unharmed, I don't want to break any promises that I make to her," said Minato with a nostalgic smile. Utu-sen was able to severely wound Obito in my timeline and even managed to place a contract seal on him to release his control of Kurama, but there is no need to use a contract seal this time, so maybe instead of a contract seal, he could deliver a killing blow. Even if he can't or doesn't deliver a killing blow, I could finish him off when he tries to teleport away, after all, he does need to materialize himself in order to suck himself in, I'll just aim for that moment. Thought Naruto. Gee. Whatever, do as you please, just make sure you win," replied Naruto apathetically. "It'll definitely win, I can't afford to lose," replied Minato. "That's fine by me, I was planning to get rid of you first anyway," said Obito emotionlessly. Naruto's Jikugen ninjutsu surpasses Minato-sensei's jutsu in many ways, but even so, a weapon is only as strong as its user. Therefore, Minato-sensei is still the more dangerous of the two, this situation suits me just fine, I wanted to take on Minato-sensei first anyway, and then I'll take care of the brat later. Still I can't afford to take my eye off Naruto, but at the same time I can't hope to defeat Minato-sensei without allocating my full concentration on him, seems like I'm going to have to sacrifice an eye. Thought Obito, once again, running head-on at his sensei with very impressive speed. He dematerializes himself in order to defend against physical attacks, but he has to materialize in order to launch a counter-attack, I'll have to aim for that instance when he counter-attacks, meaning, the one who attacks faster will win the battle. Thought Minato, also running full speed at his former student with intent and purpose, however unlike the previous clash, Minato didn't launch his initial attack at close range, choosing rather to throw a kunai at his adversary before they reached each other. Obito was a little surprised by the maneuver, but simply phased through it, just as he had done with every other attack thrown at him for a few years now. Minato on the other hand formed an instant Rasengan as soon as he launched the kunai, seemingly preparing to ram spiraling sphere against his former student's face. Obito extended his right arm at Minato, also, seemingly trying to finish the battle as quickly as possible, trying to grab onto the blonde Hokage so that he can instantly trap him in his dimension. Through all of this, not even a second went by, the kunai that Minato had thrown at Obito, only now completely phasing out the back of Obito's head, at the same time, Obito's hand was a split second away from grabbing onto Minato, who instantly teleported to the moving kunai, caught it with his left hand, and then rammed the Rasengan formed on his right hand through Obito's back. Arg. Just kidding. Said Obito with sadistic amusement. Having seen through Minato's strategy from the moment he threw that kunai, Obito never intended to materialize himself or to Kamui his former sensei, but only pretended that he did, hence why a slightly surprised Minato found himself once again unable to inflict any damage on his former student, phasing through his body once again. Unfortunately for Minato, his trajectory made it so that he ended up crouching right in front of Obito, who quickly materialized himself, grabbed hold of Minato's right shoulder, and activated Kamui, all in one movement. I've won the battle of speed. Thought Obito with elation and pride, activating Kamui in an attempt to instantly teleport his sensei away. Unfortunately, Obito failed to plan for a three-staged attack plan and therefore did notice the Hiraishin kunai that seemingly grew out of the ground right behind him. Minato, now 100% sure that Obito was tangible, 1 because of the hand on his shoulder, and 2 because he had already figured out that Obito would need to be tangible in order to activate that jutsu, waited until the very last second before teleporting himself to Obito's blind spot in the space around the kunai that was protruding out of the earth and then once again, attempting and this time succeeding in his attempt to ram a Rasengan into the Uchiha prodigy's back. Creating a large explosion that formed a large crater on the ground, sending fissures all around the battle area. The power behind the attack was so great that the whole landscape was destroyed and reshaped into large boulders, crevices, and trenches. Minato's attack plan did not end there, the Yondaime Hokage, using his super-fast reflexes and sealing prowess to switch from the Rasengan to placing a formula tag on Obito's back without his notice before jumping away to a safe distance. Wow. So this is what it's like to watch Otu-sen in action, I knew he was good all along, but this is just something else. Thought a more than impressed Naruto. Obito jumped out of the crater only a few seconds later, also landing at a relatively safe distance from both of his opponents, holding onto his left arm in agony, his breathing also a little rapid and ragged. Kuzo? How did he that kunai, when did he thought Obito, looking at the kunai that was still protruding out of the ground near the spot he'd been standing at before getting on the receiving end of his former sensei's Rasengan. Obito's eyes widened even further when the kunai sank into the ground, only to rise again near the Yondaime Hokage's feet, Minato crouching down to pick it up before placing it back into his weapon's pouch. He used earth ninjutsu to filter the kunai under the ground and then had it resurface on my blind spot at the right moment in order to catch me off guard. He also waited until I activated Kamui before launching his attack, that means that he knows the weakness of my jutsu. Still, this doesn't make sense, when did he get the chance to trailed off Obito in shock? This is the same kunai that I threw at you at the beginning, the one that I initially infused with lighting chakra, and the same one I used to teleport away from your chains when we first clashed. With earth-style ninjutsu, I was able to make the kunai travel below the surface and waited for the right time to have it resurface at a location of my choosing, that is how I defeated your strategy. Explained Minato. I'm curious though, why didn't you materialize yourself when I formed the Rasengan after throwing another kunai at you? How did you know I was able to teleport to a moving kunai? Asked Minato. I saw it earlier when you tried to use it against Naruto. I didn't know that there was another level to your jutsu up until that point in time. I would thank him for helping to reveal that secret, but as you can see, that knowledge didn't really help much, you still got me anyway. Replied Obito apathetically. I see so, are you ready to turn yourself in? You've already lost an arm and you took a direct hit from my Rasengan, you're in no condition to fight anymore. Asked Minato. Not in any condition to fight anymore. You don't know what you're Minato, realizing that Obito would not surrender unless he literally had no choice, did not bother waiting for him to finish speaking what he wanted to say, and used the seal that he had placed on his student's back to teleport himself to his position instantly, placing his palm on Obito's chest before activating a seal that was rapidly spreading on across his chest. Duration no jutsu. When did I see? He must have placed a marker on me right after he hit me with the Rasengan. Thought Obito in shock, watching in horror as a seal array started spreading across his torso. The chakra suppression seal. He plans to lock away my chakra so that I can't teleport away or become intangible any longer. Thought Obito in realization. But this, you won't be able to use any ninjutsu or genjutsu, neither will you be able to enhance your taijutsu and speed with chakra, you're now officially a Konoha prisoner. Said Minato with finality and a surprising lack of emotion in his tone. Clap 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 clap. Well done, Namikaze Minato, I didn't think it was possible to stop someone like him without killing him, but you have actually done it, without even sustaining an injury, very impressive indeed. Praised Naruto genuinely. Minato turned his head around to look at his miniature clone, so that he could see if he really meant what he was saying, or if it was just another one of his sarcastic remarks. Well, it wasn't as easy as it looked, you know, this guy was a super tough cookie, replied Minato with a goofy smile, scratching the back of his head sheepishly. So, what are you going to do with him now? Asked Naruto. What is he going to do with who? Asked Obito from a distance behind Naruto, causing both Minato's and Naruto's eyes to widen in complete shock, moreso Minato's, because Obito was in his direct line of sight, not only that, but he looked completely healed and rejuvenated. Naruto also quickly turned around to confirm if what he was hearing was actually real, and to his surprise, it really was what it sounded like. But how? I sealed away his chakra, wait a minute. Thought Minato, turning his head around again, only to see a fading Obito just before he disappeared into thin air. A Genjutsu, no, that's impossible, Genjutsu doesn't work against me. Thought Minato wearily, turning around, this time his whole body to look at the seemingly healed and replenished Obito. What's going on, Obito? I was sure that I had captured the real you, and Genjutsu doesn't work against me, so what is it, how did you do that? Demanded Minato. True, it would be incredibly dangerous to use a Genjutsu against a master of the Uzumaki clan's sealing and barrier techniques, they always had dangerous mind barrier traps to protect against anyone trying to manipulate or even to simply influence their nervous system, a system employed in order to protect the Uzumaki clan secrets. Thought Obito. Oh, it's nothing, just a little something that I prepared at the beginning, you're not the only one that had an intermediate battle plan, you know. Replied Obito as his left eye started glowing slightly before closing up involuntarily. I had this set up just in case Uzumaki Naruto decided to interfere with the battle, I didn't expect Minato-sensei to trigger this technique on his own. Despite constantly reminding myself not to, I ended up underestimating him anyway, no, rather, I was never truly able to completely comprehend the extent of his power until now, I guess the flea on side order on his bingo book entry was justified after all. Thought Obito. Something you prepared from the beginning, what do you mean exactly? Asked Minato with a confused expression, for the first time truly unable to fully grasp a concept in his entire existence. His left eye has just sealed itself shut, whatever he did, it must have something to do with that eye. Thought Minato. I think I understand now, you're a vigilantly cautious individual, aren't you? Said Naruto. What do you mean, Naruto, do you know something about his jutsu? asked Minato. Yes, I know what he did. Replied Naruto simply, causing Obito's remaining eye to widen in surprise. No, that's impossible, there's no way he would know about Izanagi. Thought Obito hysterically. You do? Exclaimed Minato with anticipation. Yes, don't make me repeat myself. Replied Naruto irritably. Alright, please explain it to me then. Replied Minato with a serious expression. The technique is in a Uchiha clan kenjutsu known simply as Izanagi. Said Naruto, shattering Obito's doubts about him really knowing about his jutsu and piquing Minato's interest to no end. Impossible. He knows. Thought Obito in horror. Izanagi? Asked Minato, probing for a more detailed explanation. Yes, at the expense of one eye, an Uchiha can cast a genjutsu over himself that can change destiny, in other words, a genjutsu that can morph and twist reality itself. Basically, if you had killed Obito, the jutsu would have discarded the reality of Obito's death and replaced it with a new reality, a reality where he didn't really die. The jutsu has only a few weaknesses, it has to be activated before the killing blow, an eye is completely and forever sealed away when the jutsu has fulfilled its purpose, and the jutsu has a time limit that varies from person to person, those are sacrifices and weaknesses for the ability to change reality. Explained Naruto. Both Obito and Minato were mighty surprised and disbelieving, but for completely different reasons. Obito, because he simply couldn't comprehend how an outsider could have gotten his hands on such information, by outsider meaning a non-Uchiha. Minato, because such a jutsu seemed too unreal to be true. But his eye did seem to seal itself away, and his injuries do seem to have been completely regenerated. Not only that, but I can't feel the marker that I placed on his back, which means the marker does not exist anymore, maybe he really did change reality after all. Thought Minato, remembering that, while it indeed was the first time that he'd witnessed it, that it however was not the first time that he has heard claims of a genjutsu that could alter reality. The Kurama clan did claim to have had geniuses who could pull something like that off in the past. A genjutsu that can change destiny, huh? You really have grown a lot since you died, Obito, if you hadn't gone so far astray, I would have been very proud to have once been your teacher. Said Minato. Save me the sentimentals, your words mean nothing to me anymore. Replied Obito. I see, well, I guess we should finish our battle then, let us see if you really have surpassed me. Challenged Minato, adopting, for the third time now, a battle stance and expression. Maybe some other time, I have other things to attend to and a new world to plan for. Do not think you have outwitted me just because you unmasked me or stopped me from destroying Konoha with the Kyuubi. I have many other options, many backup plans and unlimited resources. My plans will come to fruition, you and this world have no future, the future is my perfect world. Declared Obito. Nice little speech you have there, but you're not fooling anyone. The only way for you to escape is to teleport yourself away, but you need to materialize yourself to open that teleportation vortex, we'll simply aim for that window. Said Minato confidently. Once again, a very good analysis, however, the marker you placed on me has been warped out of this reality, you have no way of catching me. Rebuked Obito confidently. Maybe I have no way of catching you without a marker, but Naruto doesn't need a marker. Retorted Minato, smirking arrogantly at his S-rank criminal student. You've underestimated me, did you really think that I wouldn't make provision for Naruto's abilities? Asked Obito with a condensing undertone as his body phased through the earth's surface. No response. No matter, we'll meet again. Said Obito just before his head disappeared into the ground and his presence altogether. Following Obito's disappearance, Minato placed his right index and middle finger on the ground in order to feel for his presence, but could not detect anything. He's gone, trailed off Minato. Yes he is, because someone felt the need to brag about his plan of action to the enemy. Replied Naruto condensingly. He's not stupid, he wouldn't have fallen for that move twice. I already exploited his use of that jutsu during our battle, and he knows that you were watching, he never planned to teleport himself with that jutsu. Explained Minato to the slight confusion of one Uzumaki Naruto. I don't get it, if you already knew that, then why the victorious speech and the confident declaration of victory? Asked Naruto with a raised eyebrow. He didn't materialize himself after he used Izanagi, in other words, he was intangible the whole time we were talking after using that jutsu. I wanted to find out if there was a time limit to that jutsu. Near the end of our conversation, he seemed to be in quite a rush to leave and was very quick to dismiss us and go away. I counted exactly 4 minutes and 52 seconds before he disappeared, probably, he can only remain intangible for 5 minutes at a time. We can use that information to defeat him when we clash again in the future. Explained Minato. Wow, Otu-san never wastes any moves at all, and he only needs to see a jutsu once to completely dissect it and put it back together. I knew he was great, but seeing him in action personally is so much better than hearing stories about him. Thought Naruto. I see, I guess that's a reasonable excuse. replied Naruto simply. My work is done here, I should probably leave now, I have a lot of work to do still in Kiri. Thought Naruto, ejecting a glowing chain that flew out rapidly and attached itself to his axe. When the chain connected to the hilt, Naruto channeled his chakra through the axe, an axe that was attached to the chain system that was maintaining the barrier that he'd set up at the beginning, causing the barrier to collapse and the chains to sink back into a sealing array on the hilt of the weapon. When this was achieved, Naruto pulled the chain back into his palm until the axe was close enough to grasp with his hand before the axe disappeared into a seal on his wrist with a small poof of smoke. Konoha is far enough that no one there should have been able to see the barrier, and the barrier also serves as a chakra, scent, and sound cloak, basically, no one would have sensed that a battle was taking place here. So, what I want to ask you is, what are you going to say when you return to Konoha? Are you going to tell them anything about what happened here today? Asked Naruto curiously. Iwako-sama and Taji both died here today, I'll need to have an explanation for that. At the very least, I'll have to tell Hiruzen about today's events. Replied Minato. Fair enough, but we do not know how Hiruzen will react to the news. What if he decides to inform the elders or even the whole Konoha Shinobi Council about it, what then? Asked Naruto. You seem to know a little too much about Konoha's hierarchical structure, not to mention your timely intervention of Obito's Asuult and your knowledge about supposedly secret Uchiha clan Kenjutsu. Just who are you exactly? Asked Minato suspiciously. I make it my business to know everything that happens in the shinobi world, especially where Kushina-sama is involved. And since she is now a Konoha shinobi, what happens in Konoha has also become my business. I've been watching over her from the shadows for quite a long time now. Replied Naruto vaguely. So, you're a spy master, is that what you're trying to say? My guess so, but I also like to think of myself as a guardian of sorts, and Uzumaki clan guardian, and a guardian of the shinobi world. Explained Naruto. I see. Good, now answer my question, what if Sarutobi reveals this information, what do you think will happen, then? Asked Naruto. I will request that he keep the information to himself, he has more experience than even I do, he understands the shinobi principle of secrecy very well. Retorted Minato. Sure he does, except when it comes to his teammates, you really think Danzo and the other elders won't hear of this? Are you willing to take that risk? Asked Naruto rhetorically. You're acting like these people are the enemy, I happen to know that they are a few of the most patriotic Konoha loyalists in the village, so what if they hear about this? Is there something that I should know? Demanded Minato. I'm only looking after Kushina-sama's interests and by extension, your interests. Look at the situation with a little more wisdom, your own student killed the Sandaime Hokage's wife and tried to steal the Kyuubi and destroy the village with it, how do you think the others will look at you when they hear about this? Asked Naruto to the shock and then subsequent widening of the eyes of his unknowing father. Exactly, you will be looked at with scrutiny, suspicion, and distrust. Every decision you take will be questioned, investigated, and sometimes even overruled. You might even be forced to step down as Hokage eventually, and they might not trust you with Kushina-sama's protection anymore, you could be separated from her, said Naruto with a grave undertone, watching the changing expression on his father's face with curiosity and even a little amusement. Don't tell anyone about Obito. This is what happened, a masked guy with a Sharingan infiltrated your barrier, killed Bawako and Taji, and tried to kill Natsumi. You saved Natsumi and took her to safety, and then used the marker on her seal to return to her, just as the masked guy began his attempt to extract the Kyuubi. You saved Kushina, teleported her away, and then continued your battle with the masked guy. You defeated him but were unable to kill him before he escaped with his space-time ninjutsu. That is a summarized version of course, but I'm sure you can produce a more detailed format. Said Naruto. I couldn't help but notice how you left yourself out of that explanation. Retorted Minato dryly. I saved your wife and consequently, saved many Konoha citizen lives for you, you owe me, Namikaze Minato. Replied Naruto. Leave me out when you make your report and I'll consider us even. Naruto said. Don't act like you did this for me, you did this for yourself, I know you love Kushina, I see it in your eyes every time you talk about her. Nevertheless, that does not change the fact that I saved her and by extension, thousands of Konoha citizens, and it does not change the fact that you owe me for that. Retorted Naruto. So fine, I won't mention you to anyone, and I'll make sure that Kushina understands, but we're even now, right? Asked Minato. No, not yet, there's one more thing I want you to do for me. What is it? Asked Minato with narrowed eyes. I want you to bring Kushina-sama to me, I want to see her one last time before I go, oh, and bring the baby too. Replied Naruto. End chapter. Chapter 4. Looking into the future, the Kiri Empire. Naruto. Exclaimed Kushina happily, taking a few steps towards the blonde Uzumaki with baby Natsumi held tightly in her arms, only to stop her advances abruptly, realizing that she wasn't getting any closer to her target. Don't come any closer, stay where you are. Said Naruto seriously, matching Kushina step by step in her strides, except, rather than moving towards her, he was actually backtracking away from her, something that had Kushina figuratively scratching her head with confusion, considering he was the one that demanded to see her, according to Minato. Then Naruto, what's wrong? I thought you wanted to see me. I thought you wanted to see Natsumi-chan. Stuttered Kushina with a hurt expression, a look that almost crushed Naruto's resolve to stay far away from her, but he wouldn't allow his feelings to cloud his judgment. He'd done that many times in the past future, and the results were more often than not unpleasant. Minato has integrated his jutsu formula into your seal. If you come any closer, I will be within his attack range. Think about it, why would he willingly allow you and his baby daughter to come anywhere near a dangerous stranger like me? Asked Naruto rhetorically, causing both Kushina and Minato's eyes to widen in surprise. He saw through my plan, Kuzo. He must have discovered my jutsu formula when he was fixing Kushina's seal. He's very good. Thought Minato. But don't you want to see the new heiress to our clan? Asked Kushina, seemingly completely ignoring Naruto's predicament. Did she just say what I think she said? Thought Naruto in shock. To say Naruto was surprised was an understatement. It was like saying Minato was a fast, or that Orochimaru was evil, a massive understatement. He didn't know what he expected really, but he certainly didn't expect what he just heard from Kushina. It was so mind-boggling that he almost asked her to repeat herself, just to make sure that he'd heard her properly. He couldn't see the baby's face from where he was. The baby was wrapped up from toe to head with a white blanket, but if the baby really was a girl like Kushina suggested she was, then that opened up a whole new world with infinite possibilities for Naruto. So she gave birth to a girl in this timeline, thank goodness. What a great stroke of luck. It would have been very hard to explain my existence if another me had been born. Thought Naruto with a little relief. Still, I have to see the baby. It won't change much if it is just a female version of me. Thought Naruto wearily, remembering the perverted ninjutsu that he used to use to transform into a girl when he was still at the academy, also wondering what on earth could have possessed him to invent a ridiculous jutsu like that, besides defeating perverts that is. As a matter of fact, I do want to see the baby. Could you please allow me a small glimpse of her, Kushina-sama? Asked Naruto as politely and respectful as possible. But don't you want to hold her? I mean, your family, right? You'll be like an uncle, or you can even be like an older brother figure to her. She'll need a role model from her own family besides her parents, pleaded Kushina, although slightly losing her patience with the blonde Uzumaki's hesitance. Why the hell didn't he want to hold her baby? She was the most beautiful and cute baby in the world, who wouldn't want to coddle her? I already told you, I can't afford to get close to you. I'll be in your husband's attack range. Replied Naruto simply. Arg. That nonsense again. Fine. Exclaimed Kushina angrily. No sooner had she vented her anger did chakra chains burst out of the ground that Minato was standing on. The attack was so unexpected and so out of character that Minato was caught completely off guard, even not counting the fact that he was unprepared. Kushina's chains were incredibly fast, rapidly incussing him in less than a second and suppressing his chakra completely. She released the chains directly into the ground from the soles of her feet to avoid notice of her attack until the very last possible instance. She's very good. Thought Naruto. There, now won't you come over here and take a look at your beautiful baby cousin? Asked Kushina with a smile that was a little too pleasant for Naruto's liking. He'd be lying through his teeth if he said he wasn't intimidated by her. Kushina-chan, I know you think you can trust him because he saved you, but you can't trust someone you barely know just because of that. We still don't know his motives for saving you. Exclaimed Minato. I know why he saved me. Replied Kushina simply. How you do? Asked Minato, looking like a deer caught in headlights. Of course I do, Naruto-kun saved me because he is family, because he's a true Uzumaki. Said Kushina with a glittering smile, as if it should have been the most obvious thing in the world. Hey Kushina, look, I know what it is like to grow up as an orphan, and I know what it was like for you growing up. I was there with you through half of it, but you can't let your past cloud your judgment in this. Listen Minato-koi. I know that I cannot logically explain my decision to trust him, but you have to trust my feelings on this one. I can't explain it, but I just feel something about him. It's like I know deep down in my heart that he would never harm me, like I can feel him, I can feel our familial connection. I believe him when he says he is in Uzumaki, I know he is, and I know he would never hurt me. I've always trusted you and believed in everything that you have done. I even trusted you with my family secrets. Please have faith in me in return. Pleaded Kushina. She can feel a family connection to me. Is this what they call a mother's instinct? Does she subconsciously recognize me as her son? Thought a very nervous Naruto. No. That's just plain ridiculous. There's no such thing. This is just hero worship. I saved her life, and now she feels safe and secure around me. That's all there is to it. Thought Naruto in denial. Kushina, you're right, I should have a little more faith in you, you're my wife and teacher after all. Replied Minato with resignation. Thank you Minato Koi, that means a lot to me. Replied Kushina with a content smile. So does that mean you let me go now? Don't push it Databane. Oh okay. Sputtered Minato fearfully, hoping beyond hope that his wife wouldn't lose her temper, especially considering how defenseless he was at that moment in time. He didn't want to be anywhere near the receiving end of the red-blooded habanero's fiery temper. Good. Now, Naruto, it's time for you to meet my daughter, come over and meet Natsumi-chan. Said, or rather, ordered Kushina. I only wanted to confirm the identity of the baby so that I can know how to proceed with my plans for the future, but it looks like I'm going to have to do a little more than just looking, thought Naruto. I'm coming. Said Naruto hesitantly, taking a few slow and tentative steps towards Kushina and the baby. They just hurry up Databane, she's going to catch a cold out here. Shouted Kushina impatiently. Shit, I better hurry up before she decides to chain me up as well. Thought the Uzumaki swordsman. Okay here I am, can I see the baby now? Asked Naruto, holding his arms out in a gesture that clearly indicated that Kushina should pass the baby onto him. Of course you can. Naruto-kun, meet your little cousin, Natsumi-chan. Said Kushina as she handed the baby over to the 13-year-old blonde. Naruto took the baby into his embrace and to his surprise, made direct eye contact with little Natsumi-chan's violet eyes, surprised because she was so quiet that he'd actually thought that she was asleep, not knowing that she was awake the whole time. She takes after me, she's got both my eyes and my hair, even her face looks like mine, but I bet her personality will be the same as Minato. Said Kushina, looking at the baby with a mother's adoration. She's just as beautiful as you, she even has your beautiful red hair. Said Naruto, staring at the baby with surprising affection, not to Kushina or even Minato, but surprised to himself. He couldn't understand why, but he felt very affectionate and protective of little Natsumi, even though he'd only known her for a few seconds. Why you think my hair is beautiful Databane? Sputtered Kushina, spotting a cute blush on either of her cheeks. I forgot how sensitive she is about her hair color. Thought Naruto. Of course I do, your hair is the most beautiful hair that I have ever seen. I only wish I had also inherited our clan's beautiful hair as well, but I guess we can't all get everything that we want, at least I inherited our bloodline. Replied Naruto honestly, of course, he was aware that his fetish for red-haired women might stem from his Uzumaki lineage, but that didn't make his opinion any less true, her hair was up there with the best that he had seen, in fact, it was at the very top. Thanks, thank you Databane sputtered Kushina, not knowing how else to react, no one but her husband had ever complimented her about her hair before, not even her best friend Makoto. I can't believe you tied me up just so you can flirt with another man in front of me. Shut up. I'm not flirting Databane. We're blood relatives, and he's only what, like 14? 13. Corrected Naruto. Yeah, like 13, are you stupid? Exclaimed an embarrassed and pissed off Kushina. Yeah, I guess age doesn't matter to you Gwa. Cried Minato in agony, feeling like his whole body was about to be crushed into pieces by Kushina's chakra chains. Apologize now. I'm sorry, it was just a joke, really, I promise. Pleaded Minato pathetically. I guess she wears the pants in this relationship, I must say, I'm a little surprised, she seemed so kind and gentle when I met her in my mindscape, but then again, she did punch me over the head initially, when she was pissed off at me, thinking she was the Kyuubi thought Naruto. Gee you don't sound very remorseful said Kushina suspiciously. I really am, can't you see that I am? Asked Minato, face scrunched up in pain from the crushing grip of Kushina's chains. No, you just look like you swallowed feces that's all Databane. Disputed Kushina, not entirely convinced of the sincerity behind her husband's apology. I don't even want to know how you would know the expression on someone who just ate feces. Why you? As amusing as it is watching your couple's banter, I have other business to attend to, I will take my leave now. Said Naruto, effectively ending the couple's quarrel prematurely. What, where are you going? Asked a bewildered Kushina. That is private information, don't worry though, I'm sure we'll meet again in the future. Replied Naruto neutrally, handing Kushina's baby back into her as he prepared for his departure. But, I thought. Dad was going to stay in Konoha with you, and we would live together as a happy family for the rest of our lives, sorry, but there will be no happily ever after story, at least, not yet. Said Naruto coldly. But, I don't understand, what could be more important than family? Asked Kushina, completely flabbergasted by the blonde's change in attitude and demeanor. The masked guy that attacked you is still alive, I have to go and make preparations to deal with him in the future, he is a threat to the shinobi world, and a threat to you. I can protect you and the world better from the shadows, all I want is for you and Natsumi to be safe and happy, and to do that, I have to make sure that there is an actual world for you to live in. Explained Naruto. I can take care of myself. I know you can, but you're married, what if you get pregnant again? Your seal will weaken and you'll be in danger once more. Even if you don't get pregnant again, you still have a child to raise, your enemies will come after her, and they will use her to get to you and Minato. I can prevent that if I work in the shadows, I can stop your enemies long before they come even close to you and Natsumi. Besides, I have other personal errands that I have to run, mine is not a life that I can simply put on hold for anything at the moment. I want a happy life with my family more than anything else, but I'd rather be separated from you if it means you will be safer in the present and the future. Explained Naruto. This is not fair. It's not supposed to be like this, we were supposed to be a happy family, you were supposed to be Natsumi-chan's brother. Cried Kushina. I'm sorry mom, but I can't risk Konoha discovering my true origins, even if it means I can't be with you. Thought Naruto. You're acting like it's the end of the world, it's not like you and I won't meet again. Said Naruto with a kind smile, hoping to get Kushina to cheer up a little, but that didn't even come close to being anywhere near as effective as it should have been, as he thought it should have been. You know, I could order you to stay by my side, I'm the Maitreya of the Uzumaki clan, I am the clan head. According to clan law, you are bound to my authority. Exclaimed Kushina with a deranged expression. I know, but unfortunately, that is an order that I will have to ignore. No sooner had his words registered in Kushina's mind did Naruto's shinobi instincts kick in, warning him of the danger that was lurking beneath the earth. Chakra chains burst out of the ground from beneath the blonde Uzumaki's feet at mind-blowing speeds, but Naruto was too fast, although, the fact that his guard was always up might have helped too, the blonde using the splitting void migration to teleport himself far away from not just the emotionally unstable Uzumaki, but away from Fire Country altogether. Where'd he go? Thought Kushina frantically, her head moving left and right rapidly in search of the elusive blonde Uzumaki, afraid that she might have lost her only chance to capture the 13-year-old prodigy, her only chance to convince him not to desert his family. I think he's gone. Said Minato. Oh no. What have I done? I drove him away, I drove him away. Cried Kushina, falling onto her knees in despair as tears of heartache sped down her rosy cheeks, clutching baby Natsumi against her bosom for dear life in her emotional distress. Even baby Natsumi was wailing in agony, though whether because Kushina was clutching too hard on her or because of her big brother's departure was another story altogether. Minato felt relieved that Kushina hadn't crushed the life out of him and wanted nothing more than to stretch out his saw muscles and maybe even get a massage, but that would have to wait a little while. He had a distressed wife to comfort, a dead Hokage's wife and assistant to report, and an unnamed masked man's attack, and plans to disclose, all the above clearly more important than his own aching muscles. Did she just try to capture him? I see, she's even willing to go that far if it means getting him to stay by hers and Natsumi's side, she's always wanted a big and happy family, I just never thought that she was willing to go that far to fulfill that dream. Thought Minato sadly, kneeling in front of Kushina before embracing her and his daughter, providing a caring shoulder to cry on for the love of his life and his beloved daughter. Akatsuki Base in Grass Country. I knew I would find you here Toby. Said Zetsu, growing out of the earth a few meters behind Obito, who was standing dead still at the foot of the Jito Meizo statue, and a single living clone of Hashirama Senju that was connected to the Meizo. They were in what was probably the main Akatsuki base, which was built below the surface of the earth near Kusagakure no Sado. Only 4 members actually knew about this place, the deceased Uchiha Madara, Uchiha Obito, Zetsu, and Uzumaki Nagato. Most of the members didn't even know about Madara's role in the Akatsuki, and none of them, apart from Zetsu, knew that Obito even existed. Zetsu, what took you so long? Asked Obito robotically, not really caring about the answer to the question, his mind filled with questions, possible answers, suspicions, worries, and plans for the future. Unlike you, I'm not a teleporter, some of us actually need to travel to our destinations. Replied Zetsu simply. I see was all Obito said. You were defeated, but that is no reason to sulk around, Madara-sama taught you better than that. Said Zetsu, displaying a level of sympathy that was worthy of a rock. I was just thinking, how was it that Uzumaki Naruto knew so much about us? You are one of the best sensor types in the elemental nations, and you are the earth itself, should it not be near impossible for someone to spy on us without your awareness? Asked Obito rhetorically. What are you insinuating? Are you trying to say that I am the one giving away information to our enemies? Are you calling me a traitor? Asked Zetsu with a pissed-off expression. Nagato and Konan believe that I am Uchiha Madara and Konan is just a little girl who doesn't know anything. Even Nagato doesn't know everything. The same goes for Kisame and Yugura, that leaves only you. Obito trailed off with an accusatory tone. Black Zetsu carries Madara-sama's will itself, how could you possibly think that I would betray you? Asked White Zetsu indignantly. So then the two of you are innocent, then how about a deal? You prove your loyalty to me and our cause, and I never question it again, no matter what. How about it? Asked Obito, still not turning around to face what is and should be his closest ally. You will not insult my integrity again? Asked Zetsu. I promise. Said Obito. Fair enough, I have nothing to hide. Do your worst. Challenged Zetsu. Your evaluation entails an interrogation followed by an important assignment based on the results of the interrogation. I will need the two of you to separate from each other for a minute or two for the interrogation. Explained the young Uchiha prodigy, turning around slowly to face his only true comrade. You plan to use your genjutsu to interrogate us? Fine, do as you please. Replied Zetsu confidently, rising completely from the earth, taking off his Akatsuki cloak, and then finally splitting apart into his two respective halves. Some might have wondered why Zetsu had to split up in order to be interrogated with a genjutsu. The answer was surprisingly simple: black and white Zetsu were immune to genjutsu when they were not separated. The theory behind this phenomena was simple. In the shinobi world, it was a traditionally accepted practice that if a genjutsu was beyond a single person's ability to break out of, then a partner or comrade had to filter his or her chakra into said person's chakra network in order to disrupt the genjutsu. This method was 99.9% effective, in other words, it always worked. Zetsu, being two people in one, could not be affected by genjutsu because he always had a partner to break him out of the genjutsu. If the white half got affected, then, the black half's mingling chakra would immediately break him out of the jutsu and vice versa, thus, why Obito preferred that they be separated for the interrogation. Stay still, this will not take long. Obito said, the tamo around his right pupil spinning rapidly as he made direct eye contact with white Zetsu, capturing the white plant man in one of his strongest genjutsus. As soon as the genjutsu took full effect, a vacant expression morphed into the white half's facial expression, indicating to Obito that he was ready for proper interrogation. White Zetsu? Yes, replied white Zetsu monotonously. Have you ever given away information about me, Uchiha Madara, Uzumaki Nagato, yourself, or any part of our plans without mine, Nagato's or Madara-sensei's permission? Asked Obito. No. Have you ever spoken about such information carelessly or in a situation where someone might have heard you? Asked Obito. No. Have you, in writing or any other method, given out any such information? No, replied Zetsu. Have you ever betrayed me, Black Zetsu, Madara-sensei, or Nagato in any way whatsoever? Asked Obito. No, I haven't. Replied the white plant. So, is it safe to say that you are not, in any way, a traitor? Asked Obito. It is safe to say so. White Zetsu said. Fair enough. Said Obito, closing his right eye momentarily as he cancelled the jutsu on the white Zetsu, the life returning to the plant man's facial expression as he regained consciousness. How did I do? Asked white Zetsu with a hint of amusement. Do you even have to ask? Replied his black half irritably. I guess not, me being still alive and all. Said the white half nonchalantly. Black Zetsu, it is your turn, trailed off Obito with a sinister undertone, shocking both Zetsus considerably. Black Zetsu was born from Madara's will itself. To doubt him was the same as calling Madara a traitor. It was basically the same as insinuating that Madara would betray himself. I know what you're thinking, but I'm not taking any chances. Complacency will not be tolerated. Our mission means too much to me, I can't afford to take things for granted. Explained Obito forcefully. Your dedication to the cause, while somewhat twisted, is most inspiring. Madara-sama made a wise decision when he elected you as his successor. Remarked Black Zetsu offhandedly. Thanks, but at this stage, flattery will get you nowhere. Replied Obito. Haha. Fine, I already said this once, but I'll say it again, do as you please, kid. Replied an amused Black Zetsu, although hard to tell with his lack of facial expressions. Obito, given the go-ahead by his dark-skinned comrade, wasted little time as he quickly established direct eye contact with the black side of the plant man, repeating the procedure that he'd conducted on the black fellow's other half, but unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how one looked at the situation, finding no proof that Zetsu was ever, in any way at all, unfaithful to the cause. Alright, your loyalty has been confirmed. I can now tell you about my plans for the future and about your assignment. But before that, I want to extend an apology to you for doubting your integrity. It was uncalled for and quite honestly rude of me. Good comrades are hard to come by in this accursed world, one should treat them a little better when you have found them. Said Obito with what seemed to be genuine sincerity. No hard feelings, pal, you're a young guy with a heavy burden to carry, there's a lot of pressure on your shoulders. I'm not worried, or offended for that matter, your actions were not entirely unwarranted. If anything, I'm quite impressed by your vigilance and dedication. Praised Zetsu, having joined together again and now adorning his Akatsuki cloak. Thank you, that means more to me than you might think. Replied Obito. So, what are you planning to do now that your true identity has been discovered? Now that you've lost the spare eye that Madara-sama left for you? You've also lost Hoshigaki Kisame, the Mizukijin by extension, Kiri as well. That is a lot of military power, all gone in a single day. Asked Zetsu. I'm well aware of that, but it's not the end of the world. I still have Nagato and the Akatsuki, and I still have you, the Jito Meizo, and Hashirama's living clone. Things are not as bad as they might seem. Obito pointed out. True, but what was the point of recruiting Kisame and taking over Kiri in the first place if this was enough, and what was the point of using the power behind Madara-sama's name if you thought your own power would be enough? Asked Zetsu with a confused expression, by confused expression meaning the white half of his face. The Mizukage, Kiri, and Kisame were just one of my long-term plans. I already had backups in case something similar to what happened occurred. Initially, the plan was to use the Kyuubi attack to destroy the Uchiha clan and weaken Konoha in the process. Madara-sama wanted revenge on the Uchiha for their betrayal, and I wanted myself some spare eyes. Explained Obito. I can't help but notice that you said this was only your initial plan. Does that mean that you have changed your mind about destroying the Uchiha clan? Asked Zetsu. Yes, I will no longer destroy the Uchiha clan, I will recruit them, they will become part of the Akatsuki, another branch of the organization so to speak. Explained Obito cryptically, causing Zetsu's left eye, in other words, the white half's eye to widen in surprise. That's ridiculous, how do you plan to recruit a whole clan into the organization? Yeah, how do you plan to even get them out of Konoha? Asked Zetsu incredulously. Relations between Konoha and the Uchiha clan are not very strong, in fact, it could be said that there is a very real power struggle between the Uchiha clan and Konoha authorities. The Uchiha clan has been treated with unfairness and political oppression since even before Madara-sensei attacked Konoha. Things got worse when Madara-sensei attacked with the Kyuubi, and even worse when Tobirama took over as the second Hokage. Minato-sensei believes that Uchiha Madara was my sensei, but if anything, Hiruzen, Danzo, and the elder advisors have always been weary of the Uchiha clan, they will suspect that the clan had something to do with this, that I wasn't trained by Uchiha Madara, but that I am a product of the Uchiha clan's betrayal against the Leaf. Explained Obito, taking a slow breath before continuing with his explanation. The Uchiha clan will be further isolated from Konoha and further distanced from the Hokage title and village politics. If I know Fugaku as much as I think I do, then he won't want to take that lying down. You believe that the Uchiha clan will attempt a coup? Asked Zetsu. Yes, that is what part of the whole plot for attacking Konoha with the Kyuubi was. Either me and the Kyuubi would destroy Konoha and the Uchiha clan ourselves so that I can get some spare eyes, or we would fail and Konoha would help in destroying the clan would weaken Konoha, and I would get my spare eyes. It was a win-win situation. The plan however has changed slightly, we will still allow Konoha to ignite the Uchiha clan's will of hate on their own, rather than destroy them, I will use that hate to get them to switch sides. Transportation is not an issue, I can use Kamui to get them out of Konoha without detection. Explained Obito with elation, staring at his hands as if seeing them for the first time since he was born, as if his destiny was unfolding on the palms of his hands. The supposer planus tenteraliut of a physical realms of possibility, it's quite poetic actually, a long-lost son coming back to liberate the family from oppression and to save them from destruction. You'll be a hero amongst your brethren, a living legend even. They will worship the very ground that you walk on. Said Zetsu. Worship the ground upon which I walk, huh? Perhaps, but if that is to happen, I will need to show them something that they have never seen before, I will have to make them believe in me. Make them believe in you? I would have thought that liberating them and saving them from destruction would have served that purpose. No, there are bound to be some Uchiha clan members whose eyes are too weak to see through the deception that is Hashirama's will of fire, those people will pose a threat to our goals. I should know, after all, I was once one of those ignorant members of the Uchiha clan before I met Madara-sensei. Said Obito, his single operating eye narrowing in distaste. There is no need to worry about something like that, I will send a parasite clone to Konoha as soon as possible, actually, I will send 2 parasite clones. Said Zetsu, coming up with an effective plan on the spot. It didn't take a genius, at least not according to Obito, to figure out what Zetsu had in mind. A Zetsu parasite clone had the ability to execute a perfect transformation of anyone whose chakra he was able to absorb, even to the point of mimicking the chakra and abilities of his targets, that is, if he knew what said abilities were. Therefore, Obito was able to conclude that Zetsu probably planned to kill and maybe even eat one of the Uchiha clan members, transform into him, and then take his place in the clan until Obito came to liberate the clan. By then, he would have conquered a list of the Konoha loyalists in the clan, along with the evidence needed to present to Fugaku. Obito would then ask for Fugaku's permission to eliminate said members and everything would go smoothly from then on. Probably, the other parasite clone would remain in the shadows and constantly mask his chakra with a mayfly technique. In other words, one clone would spy on the Uchiha clan from the inside, whereas the other would spy from the outside. A brilliant plan indeed, even Obito had to say so himself. That's a very good idea, you have my permission to proceed. We're already on it. Replied Zetsu hastily. Good, now all I have to worry about is getting them to believe in me, which is where you come in again, Zetsu. This is to do with the assignment that I told you about earlier. Said Obito vaguely. I don't get this believe in you business. Whined White Zetsu. Idiot. Obito died with a terrible reputation as a shinobi. Toby will have to do something special to get Fugaku to believe in his power. Pretending to be Madara-sensei won't work now that Uzumaki Naruto, Uzumaki Kushina and Namikaze Minato know who he really is. Although, I can't help but wonder what we can possibly do to improve the situation. Asked Black Zetsu. I'm going to become the 5th sage of the 6 paths, I'm going to get the Rinnegan, and I'm going to need you to help me get it. After this assignment, I will never doubt your loyalty again, that was the agreement. Said Obito nonchalantly, shocking Zetsu considerably with what the bipolar shinobi thought his leader was implying. You can't be serious. You want me to try and kill Nagato? That's impossible, even for me. Exclaimed White Zetsu with a horrified expression. Even if I could defeat Pain, what would be the purpose of retrieving the Rinnegan so soon when Nagato is yet to fulfill the purpose that Madara-sama had for him? Asked Black Zetsu with an unreadable tone. I don't intend for you to kill Nagato, the person I want you to kill is Hada Kakashi. I have all the ingredients required to awaken my own Rinnegan, except for one, the only thing I need now is my other eye. Obito casually explained to Zetsu's immense surprise. Under normal circumstances, Obito would have needed to implant his brother's, mother's, sister's or father's eyes in order to first awaken the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan before he became eligible to awaken the eyes of the sage. But the necessity to switch eyes was only a result of a diluted bloodline, or rather, an incomplete bloodline. Obito however was the complete article, he had a perfect fusion with Hashirama's cells and therefore had both the first son's ocular powers and the second son's physical life force. He didn't need to switch eyes to obtain eternal vision, he already had it. Now he just needed his other eye so that he could awaken the Rinnegan. It was stupid of you not to have taken your eye back when you encountered the copy ninja in Kurigakure. I mean, he was just lying there unconscious on the battlefield. It would have been so easy just to kill him and retrieve your eye back then. Zetsu grouched, unable to mask his irritation at the young Uchiha. That was before Madara taught me everything that I know now, wasn't quite as mature as I am right now, not quite as enlightened so to speak. Point taken. Still, I can't help but wonder how all this is going to work. Said Zetsu with an uncertain frown. What seems to be the problem? Nagato is under the belief that he is the chosen savior of the world, that he is the reincarnation of a god that will deliver this world from its darkness. And he believes this because he is under the impression that he awakened the Rinnegan on his own. How do you expect him to react when he sees you with your own Rinnegan? Asked Zetsu curiously, curious but not really worried at all, knowing that Obito probably gave enough thought on the matter already. The kid was no idiot at all, at least, not since he started taking life a little more seriously. The way I see it, there are only 2 ways that we can handle the situation. 1. We could simply inform Fugaku and the rest of the clan not to disclose any information about my Rinnegan under the penalty of death, as clan head Fugaku has the authority to pass out such a law and it must be obeyed by the whole clan. Another likely scenario would be to simply keep the clan and the Akatsuki from meeting or even knowing about each other until the final stages of our plan. After all, I don't intend to use the Uchiha clan's military power until Akatsuki has collected all the tailed beasts. The driving force behind the Uchiha clan's recruitment is to add to our military power for the 4th Shinobi War. Nevertheless, I have more than enough time to make my decision, I don't need to make it now. I'll wait and see how things pan out and act accordingly. Explained Obito. Sounds like a good plan. It is, isn't it? Anyway, after the attack on Minato and Kushina, Konoha will likely gate-lock themselves for quite a substantial amount of time. They'll try to keep their strongest shinobi close by in case there is a follow attack on the village. This means that Hada Kakashi is unlikely to go beyond Konoha's walls for quite a period of time. As a result, I'm giving you 3 to 6 months to kill Kakashi and return my eye. Said Obito authoritatively. No problem man, it shall be done. The following day. Water Country. It's been a long time, my friends. Greeted Naruto, bowing respectfully to his comrades and teachers. Haha. You're looking a little taller squirt. Said Kisame, causing Zabuza and even Mangetsu to laugh at the blonde's expense. Okay, Zabuza only smirked a little, but it was close enough, the blonde twitching irritably at the unwarranted insult to his height. He was freaking tall for a 13-year-old, damn it. They were deep within a forest, standing smack in the middle of a clearing with an incredibly thick mist masking their visuality to possible oncoming enemies, a mist that Zabuza formed and was maintaining with his chakra. It wasn't really necessary as both Samehada and Mangetsu were sensor types, but caution and vigilance were just a few of Zabuza's strongest traits. "Yeah, whatever, fishy-sensei," replied Naruto casually. Mangetsu and even Samehada could be heard crackling at Kisam's expense, the smirk on the shark man's face evaporating immediately, wrapping his right hand around Samehada's handle as he adopted a fighting stance. "It seems to me like you forgot your manners at the Whirlpool Ruins, you want to call me that again, Brad?" asked Kisam menacingly. "No, I'd rather not, thank you, there are more important things to do than fighting over something as mundane as your suspicious heritage," mocked Naruto with a sinister undertone. "Why you? That's enough." Zabuza snapped, blasting the two swordsmen with a sizable amount of killing intent, not enough to freeze them in place, or even enough to scare them, but more than enough to get their attention, enough to get them to obey him. "We have more serious issues at hand, we don't have time for this childish bickering," exclaimed Zabuza angrily. "You're right, so tell me, what happened while I was away?" asked Naruto with a curious expression. Igura enacted a terrible new law about 6 months ago. He managed to convince many people that bloodline limits are demonic and that they are cause of all wars. Kiri is under a state of civil war for the past 6 months, and many clans have fallen since the purges began. Only I and my brother survived from the Hazuki clan, and Mei was the only survivor from the Terumi clan," explained Mangetsu. "I know about the purges, and I'm sorry about your clan, Mangetsu. I'm glad your brother is okay though, at least you managed to save him," said Naruto sympathetically. "How do you know about the purges?" asked Zabuza with eyes narrowed in suspicion. "I've been investigating Yagura and the person pulling his strings behind the scenes, that's how I found out about the purges," explained Naruto. Naturally, Zabuza and Mangetsu spotted surprise and curiosity in their facial expressions, but Kisam's reaction was a little different, the blue man's eyes narrowing at the blonde with a mixture of unease and malice. "The person pulling Yagura's strings." Ao mentioned something about a foreign chakra in Yagura's chakra network, as if he was under some sort of permanent genjutsu, or at least, a very powerful and long-lasting one, said Mangetsu. "He's right, Yagura is being controlled by a genjutsu, and I know who the person who is controlling him, in fact, I was locked in a three-way battle with him and the Yellow Flash just yesterday in Fire Country, listen to me," exclaimed Naruto hastily, spotting the incredulous expression on Zabuza's face, cutting the demon off before he could disrupt his explanation. "Listen to what? You expect me to believe that you were in a fight with the Yellow Flash and managed to survive? Don't be ridiculous, if you want to play." Zabuza almost choked on his own words, stopping his rant prematurely as a dark abyss opened up in the space behind Naruto, almost as if a giant knife was dissecting the atmosphere itself. "This is my slash-throat technique, it is a space-time technique that allows me to travel to a dimension of my own creation, or anywhere else in the world really. I use the ceiling and barrier knowledge that I found in the Whirlpool Ruins to create this space-time technique amongst others. I also have another battle-usable one that I named Splitting Void Migration. It is a technique that puts me on par with the Yellow Flash, in other words, a technique that can match the Hiraishin no Jutsu," explained Naruto, his swordsman comrades staring at him with their jaws on the ground. "Impossible," exclaimed Zabuza. "Not at all, but very difficult though," said Naruto. It took a long time, almost 10 minutes for the trio to get over the blonde Uzumaki's new revelation, finding it extremely hard to believe that he was a space-time practitioner, much less one of that high of a caliber. Asking many questions about his jutsu and even asking him to show them the so-called splitting void that was supposedly on par with the Hiraishin no jutsu. The blonde was more than happy to oblige, they were his masters after all, and he thought that they deserved at least to see what he could do. Mangetsu even folded his hands into the ram hand seal and kept on shouting out the word Kai as he tried to release the non-existent genjutsu that he thought he was under, but to no avail. After answering all of their questions about his jutsu and after they had calmed down eventually, the conversation continued from where it left off. So Zabuza trailed off. "Yes?" asked Naruto. "There's something I want to know, what exactly were you doing in Fire Country? And how did you end up in a battle with the Yellow Flash?" asked Zabuza bluntly, a hint of distrust and suspicion audible in his tone. "You may or may not know this, but Namikaze Minato is secretly married to the Maitreya of the Uzumaki clan, the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, Uzumaki Kushina," Naruto revealed to the utter shock and surprise of his comrades. "Uzumaki Kushina is married to the Yellow Flash," exclaimed Mangetsu. "Yes, they have a baby daughter too, she was born yesterday. Also, that is part of the reason I was in Fire Country, I wanted to see the new heiress and I wanted to talk to Kushina-sama to try and convince her to defect and come with me." Naruto lied through his teeth, although part of his explanation was the truth. He did want to see Kushina's baby, and getting her to defect did cross his mind, but he quickly wrote that off as impossible. Kushina was in love with Minato and about to give birth to his child. She would never leave him and her life in Konoha for a total stranger, Uzumaki or not. Also, Minato's Hiraishin formula was integrated into her Jinchuriki seal. Escape was impossible for her as long as the Yellow Flash was alive, unless she was willing to fight and kill him, which would be very difficult even with the power of the Kyuubi and Uzumaki Kinjutsu. I see, but how did you end up in a three-way fight with the Yellow Flash and this mysterious man who is supposedly controlling Yagura with a Jinjutsu and whose name you have yet to mention? Asks Zabuza. The man was wearing a spiral-like mask over his face and a hood over his head. Said Naruto, pausing slightly as he gauged Kisam's reaction, who was now sweating bullets, although trying his best to act unfazed. He attacked the Yellow Flash and used the newborn baby to separate him from Kushina-sama. She was left defenseless. This is because a Jinchuriki's seal is severely weakened during childbirth and it requires a substantial amount of energy to stop the Bijuu from breaking out during the birth. The masked man tried to extract the Bijuu from her seal, but I couldn't allow him to kill her, so I stopped him, saved her, fixed her seal, and long story short, ended up in a three-way fight between this man, me, and Namikaze Minato. Explained Naruto, taking a short breath before continuing with his explanation. I will give you a more detailed version of events later, but right now, all you have to know is that this man tries to pass himself off as Uchiha Madara, and the nature and magnitude of his power is not too far behind that man's level. However, I managed to smash his mask off during the battle, and the Yellow Flash was able to recognize him as his long-lost student, who was supposed to have died a few years ago. His name is Uchiha Obito. Explained Naruto to the surprise of his comrades, especially Kisame. Impossible. He knows, he really knows. Thought Kisame wearily. Uchiha Obito, I can't say I've ever heard of him. Said Mangetsu. You wouldn't have, he wasn't much of a shinobi back then, I guess in a way, he was the black sheep of his family. Although what he really was is a late bloomer because make no mistake, the guy is very intelligent and his talent is immense. Cautioned Naruto. Duly noted, but tell us about his abilities. If he really is the one controlling Yagura, then we're going to need some intel on this Uchiha before we proceed with the coup. Said Zabuza. Wait a minute. Mangetsu cut in. This doesn't make sense at all. How would this guy have been able to come in and out of Kiri as frequently as he should have without anyone noticing him? I mean, we have the Bishiteki clan, means, microscopic, it's Ranmaru's clan, with their all-seeing eyes, we have Ao and his Byakugan, and we have many sensors inside the village. Mangetsu asked. That happened because of his abilities. Uchiha Obito's has an advanced Sharingan known as the Manjiko Sharingan. His eyes have the ability to manipulate space and time. He's a space-time user too, like you and the Yellow Flash? Asked Mangetsu. Yes, like me and the Yellow Flash. Naruto replied. So, how does he manipulate space and time, as in, what is the extent of his abilities? Asks Zabuza. He uses a technique known as Kamui. This technique has many features to it. For one, like I can with my slash-throat technique, Obito can open a portal with his right eye and travel to another dimension or location by sucking himself into the vortex. Also, he can suck in other objects and people as well. There are two weaknesses to this technique. One, he can only use it at close range, and he needs to be tangible in order to activate it. Explained Naruto. Tangible, what's that supposed to mean exactly? Asked Mangetsu with a confused expression. That is one of the features of his technique, the ability to become completely intangible. This is his ultimate defense, simply allowing all objects and attacks to phase through him. The only way to defeat him is to aim for the moment that he becomes tangible again, in other words, the moment where he tries to counterattack or suck you or himself into his portal, as he needs to materialize himself in order to do that. Naruto explained with a serious expression. No wonder he was confident enough to attack the Yellow Flash, his abilities are insane. Exclaimed Mangetsu in awe. That's not all, he also has a time limit to his intangibility, he can only remain intangible for a maximum of 5 minutes at a time, and one should avoid direct eye contact with him, or any Uchiha for that matter. He also had good reaction speed and reflexes, be wary of that too. Naruto warned. This brat knows too much, but there is no way that he could have found out about my connections to Obito. Still, I'm going to have to take care of him now, in fact, I'm going to have to kill Mangetsu and Zabuza as well. Too bad, I actually like them quite a lot, I almost felt at home with them. Thought Kisame solemnly. I'll make sure to remember that. I knew I made the right decision by allowing you to live that night, you've become a valuable asset for our cause. Although, I can't help but feel uneasy about your attachment to Kushina and her daughter. Said Zabuza. There's nothing I can do about that, my feelings for her won't change no matter what, she is a wonderful woman, and she is not only family, but the Maitreya of the Uzumaki clan, I can't think of her as an enemy, although, I guess I can't think of her as an ally either. Replied the blonde Uzumaki. I guess I understand. Zabuza said, begrudgingly accepting the blonde Uzumaki's circumstance as there was nothing either one of them could do about it. At least he isn't naive enough to think that he could trust her with his and our secrets, despite her service to an enemy village. Thought Zabuza. Good, now, I'd like to hear about your status, and I'd also like to know how many clans have survived and how Mei is doing. Naruto requested. We are almost ready for another coup. We have recruited the Demon Brothers and Raiga as allies. We were also deliberating on whether to allow Raiga to try out for our organization, his sword skills are quite impressive, and his lightning manipulation is of a high standard. He would make a good wielder for the Fangs. Also, the surviving clans so far are the Kagaya, Bishiteki, and the Yuki clan. All the others have already been annihilated, and the only survivors from the Hazuki clan are Mangetsu and his baby brother, Sujetsu. Mei is the only survivor of the Terumi clan. Oh, and by the way, there is a rebellion force that is organized and led by her. The Yuki and Bishiteki clan have joined the rebels, but the Kagaya have refused and chosen to fly solo instead. She tried to get us to join too, but we have our own plans. Zabuza explained. But wouldn't the coup have a higher chance of success with her military strength? I mean, she does have quite a large shinobi force. Suggested Naruto, left eyebrow raised in amusement. No, it will be an espionage type of mission, an assassination. Stealth will be required, we can't have a whole battalion for something like that. Exclaimed Zabuza. Yeah, that, or you just don't like the idea of taking orders from a girl, Mangetsu snickered. Watch it. Snapped Zabuza furiously. Mei-chan seems to be doing well if she has managed to organize and lead a rebellion against Yugura, despite the complete annihilation of her clan. I can't imagine how much pain and suffering she must be feeling inside. Thought Naruto fondly, genuinely concerned about the woman he secretly had feelings for. He hadn't seen her since their last training session under Ao's tutelage before he left Kiri, and they hadn't communicated since then. Naruto couldn't wait to see her again, and maybe even have a nice little spar and some casual talk afterwards like old times. I wasn't there for her in what was probably the lowest point of her life when her clan was demised, I wonder what she'll think of me now. Will she even care that I have returned, or will she simply hate me? Thought Naruto wearily. I guess it doesn't really matter, I'll take care of Yugura myself, I've mastered the chakra chain technique to a level where I can suppress even a Biju, and I am the only one that can get close to Yugura with zero chance of detection, I also have the best tools to take care of him. A simple application of the contract seal should be enough to release him from the Jinjutsu. From then on, I'll proceed to convince him to step down and appoint a successor, assuming he doesn't commit seppuku when he realizes what he has done while he was under Obito's control. Naruto explained. Don't be ridiculous, it can't possibly be as easy as that. Mangetsu shouted incredulously. I said it was simple, not easy. The blonde deadpanned. Oh sorry. Mangetsu apologized sheepishly. Why not just kill him? What purpose does it serve to have him step down and elect a new Mizukage? Why not just kill him and seal the Sanbi into yourself like we planned to do? Asked Kisame curiously. Simply killing him will only spark the flames of war. His followers will want vengeance for their master's death and will come after us. In such a scenario, it would mean killing more than half of Kiri's shinobi population just to reclaim control of the nation. But if we free Yugura from the Jinjutsu, then we can at least get him to stop the purges and formally announce a successor before he decides whether he still wants to continue to live under the authority of a new Mizukage or if he wants to die. Naruto answered. I see, that makes an overwhelming amount of sense, you've thought this through thoroughly haven't you? Kisame replied. Of course, many people's lives rest upon the decisions we make, we have to be vigilant. Naruto said. So, the next Mizukage, who will it be? Mangetsu asked. Zabuza Senpai, of course. Said Naruto as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. No. Zabuza said sternly. What's wrong Zabuza, demon-kun getting cold feet? Ha 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 ha. Asked Mangetsu, laughing maniacally at the scorned demon. Your childishness knows no limits, I'm almost ashamed to be associated with you. Replied Zabuza angrily. Ha ha ha. Come on man, don't be so sensitive, we're all men here aren't we? Said Mangetsu cheerfully, wrapping his right arm around Zabuza's shoulders as a show of friendship. You'll unhand me if you value that arm, warned Zabuza maliciously. Haha, we both know that I'm immune to physical attacks. Said the Hazuki prodigy with a cocky smile. Whatever. Said Zabuza dismissively, doing his very best to rein in his otherwise volatile temperament. You act like such an old man. Mangetsu said, sighing in exasperation at the demon of the mist's lack of humor. Anyway, I thought it was your dream to become the god. You have an opportunity right here to do exactly that, and you're just going to turn it down?" asked Mangetsu, now adopting a more serious expression and posture. The Cage has to be the strongest shinobi in his nation, or at least close to that level. Right now, both Kisame and Naruto are still stronger than I am. Heck, Naruto fought the Yellow Flash and an Uchiha who was able to turn the Mizukage into puppet for his own amusement and still came out intact. If a Cage's name and power alone has to be enough to dissuade enemies from invading his nation, then, right now, Naruto is the candidate with the most credentials. I understand that, but doesn't experience and wisdom also count for something? Mangetsu argued. Wisdom won't be a problem, you should know that by now. Naruto's wisdom goes deeper than the years he has spent on this cursed world, also, not to mention the fact that he was raised by a sage. Besides, it isn't like we won't be there to help him, he will be surrounded by experienced people who will help him make decisions until he finds his feet. That is, if he even needs any help, I for one don't believe he will. Zabuza replied. I see, but are you sure about this? Asked Mangetsu, the idea of best friend giving up on his dream so abruptly not quite sitting well with him. Yes, I've been thinking about this for a long time, ever since we took Naruto in as an apprentice. Zabuza said, causing Mangetsu's eyes to widen significantly in surprise, shocked that his best friend has had such thoughts for so long without him even knowing about it. I see. Muttered Mangetsu, a thoughtful expression etched onto his facial features. So it's been decided then, Naruto will become the Godame Mizukage? Asked Kisame rhetorically. I would like to think that it would have been better if I was elected as the new Mizukage, but the way things look now, it wouldn't have changed anything. I can't continue Obito's Kiri project without killing the brat first. Looks like I'm going to have to kill him, whether I do it as the Mizukage or not doesn't change anything, the end result will be the same regardless, that is to say, I will take over Kurigakure no Sato and continue Yugura's legacy, or rather, Obito's legacy. Kisame thought confidently. Yes Naruto. You are now the Godame Mizukage. Said Zabuza. So you're not even going to ask me if I accept or not? Asked Naruto with a raised eyebrow. That's because he wasn't asking you, he was telling you. Basically, it's an order. Said Mangetsu with a toothy grin. Should have known. Naruto said, spotting his own toothy grin, displaying the trademark shark teeth of the shinobi swordsman, as laughter ensued amongst the group of swordsmen. Alright. Since you have decided to put your trust in me, I will return the gesture to you by showing you something. I'm also going to share all my plans with you for the future, for our future. Said the blonde Uzumaki. Plans for the future? Show us what? Asked Mangetsu and Zabuza respectively. I want all three of you to follow me, we're going to use the /drought migration to go to the place that I want to show. I'll explain everything on our way there. Said Naruto as he turned around and walked towards the space-time void that had remained open for the entirety of their conversation, the three shinobi swordsmen following right behind him. 3 hours later. Back to Kurigakure no Sato. If one were simply gazing at the sky, in the forests of Kiri, they would have seen what appeared to be the atmosphere itself getting slashed clean through as a dark portal opened up in the sky, three shinobi jumping out of the portal and landing at a clearing in the forest and the atmosphere stitching itself together again. The three shinobi in question none other than Uzumaki Naruto, Momochi Zabuza, and Hazuki Mangetsu. Wow. That was quite an experience, your dimension is cool, and what you did to Whirlpool Country was even cooler. Mangetsu exclaimed giddily. Yes, your recruits and plans for them are even better, I'm more than impressed. You've grown well Naruto. Zabuza praised, genuinely pleased and even excited by what was to come for Kurigakure no Sato, thinking back on what the blonde had shown and told them. When they entered the portal, they had traveled to Whirlpool Country, a rebuilt village hidden in the whirlpools to be exact. It was by far the largest and most beautiful hidden village he had ever seen in his entire existence. Using state-of-the-art technology originating from Snow Country and Sky Country, and even Whirlpool's own unique kinjutsu to create what was basically place worthy of empire status. Everything was there, floating systems from Sky Country that allowed buildings to float in the skies, and state-of-the-art marine technology from Snow Country to create underwater fortresses were just a few of the architectural miracles that were created. And of course, everything was reinforced by Uzumaki sealing kinjutsu. The floating systems and underwater systems meant that land nature was not wholly dominated by humans, and hence, allowing a rich development of wildlife. Seeing all this marvelous technology and wildlife coexisting in that manner was so magical that for a while, the demon of the mist hand wondered if he hadn't accidentally strayed into the afterlife. According to Naruto, this place would serve as a sort of main base for the Kiri Empire. Kurigakure no Sato would still retain its independence for the most part, but when a threat came that threatened any part of the empire, or the empire as a whole, then they would all rendezvous at this place or even permanently move in, should their various villages be destroyed. They had also met a few groups led by very powerful people that Naruto had recruited for the cause. One of them was former Sky Country turned Sora Sky clan leader. A man known as Sorashino, a rather tall and muscular man with dark eyes and ragged black hair and an equally ragged and black beard, wearing black shinobi pants with red leg warmers and black shinobi sandals, and a dark red sleeveless top that is buttoned up to the lower part of his chest. Showing off his more than impressive physique. He also doesn't seem to be carrying anything special with him in terms of weapons, but does have a few scrolls on the left side of his waist and a weapons pouch on his right thigh. The man was also well groomed in Sora clan Kenjutsu. Naruto had introduced them to the man and explained that Sky Country had nearly become extinct during the Second Shinobi World War and that Shino was born near the end of that era and inherited a once great but then struggling shinobi village. He explained that because of their depleted numbers and the intensity of the Third Shinobi War, that had managed to convince Shino to convert the village hidden in the skies into a clan rather and join what was on its way to becoming the Kurigakure Empire. Naruto had presented his whole plan to the man and how he and his new clan would fit into it, including the benefits that they would reap from joining, and the man had eventually agreed to join the cause as his village was facing extinction as it were. Another powerful person they were introduced to was Moroku, the former demon priestess, a blonde-haired and voluptuous woman with magenta eyes, long hair reaching just above her sizable but firm posterior, and an hergless figure with a bust that was almost threatening to spill out of her kimono and expose itself to the world. She was wearing a golden kimono with a purple sash and brown shinobi sandals, holding herself with an air of authority, integrity, and elegance despite her sexually stimulating appearance. According to Naruto, he had helped her to permanently seal away a powerful demon known as Moryu and all the other lower-ranked demons that roamed the lands of Demon Country, causing havoc and destruction. And thus, an agreement was settled between the two of them, by agreement meaning a marriage contract to gain a solid alliance with the priestess and to utilize her powers for Kiri. She and her people would be joining the Kiri Empire and they would move into Kurigakure no Sato along with the Sora clan as soon as Yugura was toppled and Naruto took over. Naruto didn't lie to them, but he did leave out a few important details. The marriage contract between him and Moroku wasn't just that, as a priestess, Moroku sometimes had random visions of the future and the past that were triggered by an array of different circumstances. Basically, she knew who Naruto was and she knew that he was from a different time and space. She also knew what kind of person he really was and what he had done for her daughter and by extension, her, in that timeline. In order for her to keep that secret, she had one condition for Naruto, to marry her and become the loving and caring husband that she wanted him to be. Basically, she blackmailed him into the marriage alliance, although she didn't have any sinister agenda to begin with. Naruto didn't mind though, getting married to her meant that he would have access to her and her powers at any and all times, that could only be a good thing for him and Kurigakure. Also, it meant that he could keep her close enough to physically make sure that she didn't tell anyone about his secret, and considering that one of her demands were that he help her conceive a new priestess, she would be eternally bound and connected to him. His enemies would be hers and their child's enemies, and her enemies would be his and their child's enemies. His secret would thus be safe as revealing that information would only mean endangering herself and their child. The next person they had met was Soifin of the Saishin clan, a beautiful, relatively short and petite woman with grey eyes and short hair with two long braids bound with a white cloth, each ending in a large golden ring, wearing black shinobi pants with height bandages around the ankles and dark blue ninja sandals on the lower half of her body. A sleeveless top that covers only the front of her body is sported on the upper portion of her body, with a white hori worn on top. She also has a blue weapons pouch on her left thigh and a short sword held horizontally on her lower back. The clan used to comprise the demon priestess's shinobi guard but were banished 2 centuries ago by Moroku's predecessor because of a deemed betrayal to the priestess. The clan was said to have gone into hiding since then, never showing themselves on the surface again, to the point that some believe their very existence to have been a mere myth. But Moroku saw the future in Naruto and knew that hard times were coming, that the very world that they knew of could possibly cease to exist if they didn't do something about it. That was why she had contacted them, using her powers as a priestess to find their location, which was much closer than some might have thought, and reconcile with them. The clan had been more than willing to reconcile, having waited so long for a chance to redeem themselves. As a show of trust and sincerity, Saishin Soifin, the heiress of the Saishin clan, now head of the clan after her father's death, had even offered herself in order to seal the pact with blood. Moroku wanted to show her own sincerity and trust to the clan and offered her own husband, Naruto, to Soifin, making Naruto wonder if she hadn't forced him into the marriage just for this moment. In any case, he hadn't been too bothered. This was the shinobi world where people were taught to do whatever it takes to achieve their goals. She would use him, he would use her, that was fine, as long as they made time once in a while to just be themselves and love each other like husband and wife are supposed to. In any case, the Saishin clan was incredibly powerful. From what Soifin told him, Naruto knew that the Saishin clan's Kekkei was superior even to the Uzumaki clan's chakra chain technique. The Saishin clan used the yin release together with the yang release in order to create powerful kinjutsu weapons from their own life force and chakra. The yin release was used to separate a portion of their soul and give it its own mental energy, in other words, its own identity, and the yang was used to breathe life into that energy and to give it its own physical form in the shape of a sword. Depending on each person's mastery of the Kekkei, the sword could have 3 forms, each more powerful than the other. The first was the basic sword, the second form was known as a shikai, and the final transformation was known as a bankai. It was said that it could take 10 years even for a Saishin clan genius to master the bankai, but Soifin had already done it at the age of 16. Naruto had battled her once, and he had to admit that he would have lost if it weren't for his mastery of space-time ninjutsu. That Shunpo speed technique was something else, and her kinjutsu skills were on par with the 7 ninja swordsmen. They also met Haruko, an elderly man with the appearance of a white-haired boy with red eyes, wearing a white oversized high-collared coat that reaches all the way below his knees with black shinobi pants and ninja sandals. Naruto explained that Haruko was a former Konoha shinobi who was from the same generation as the Sannin. That the man specialized in the field of science, research and related kinjutsu, and that the man had created his own kinjutsu known as the Chimera Kinjutsu. Naruto also told them that the man was as powerful as any of the Sannin, and possibly even more powerful. Haruko wanted vengeance against the Sannin, but more importantly, he wanted to show Konoha that he had transcended with his own kinjutsu and become something, or at least, a part of something greater than Konoha. Naruto didn't find it hard to convince Haruko to join his cause, and Haruko didn't really find it hard to decide either. Naruto offered to provide to him access to all the scientific research that was conducted in Whirlpool and Kiri. And even offered to create a science and research division for him in Kurigakure, where he would be allowed to conduct all of his experiments and even be allowed to recruit potential members of his division directly from Kiri's shinobi forces and from even the ninja academy. Naruto also introduced them to Ichi, Nai, and San, 3 siblings who were products of Haruko's chimera experiments and also his loyal subjects. The last person they met was Hirito, a young man with fair skin and long white hair, wearing a long blue coat with black pants and dark blue shinobi sandals, carrying only a long staff with 2 large rings at the top as a weapon. Hirito was a former member of the 12 shinobi guardians of Fire Country, whose ambition was to destroy Konoha and its cage system, as he thought that there couldn't be 2 kings and that the cage was undermining the authority of the feudal lord. Basically, Hirito wanted to unite the people of Fire Country under one king, but Naruto wanted to unite the whole world under one king and thus, end all skirmishes and wars between the shinobi nations. Having heard Naruto's dream and how he planned to achieve it, Hirito couldn't help but to express genuine interest in it. He saw a lot of himself in Naruto, their goals and motivations were very similar, just that, Naruto was thinking far bigger than he could have ever even considered. Needless to say, Hirito was inspired and wanted nothing more than to contribute to this mission in any way that he could. He told himself that it was the least that he could do. It also helped that Naruto had plans for his dead corpse reanimation jutsu. The plan was simple, Naruto was going to create a forbidden arts division in Kurigakure and he wanted Hirito to manage this division. The division would be expected to have close ties with the healing and medicine division that Saishin Unohana was expected to lead and also Hiroku's science and research division. Hirito was also expected to lead the corpse forces, which was comprised of all the shinobi, enemy and Kiri allied that had died and whose bodies were retrievable for Hirito to resurrect with his jutsu. Not only was Hirito able to use reanimated corpses to work for his ranks, but he was also allowed to recruit members for his ranks from the main forces and the academy. To top it off, he had 3 very powerful allies that agreed to join Kiri with him, Fudo, a taijutsu specialist with a powerful kinjutsu that enabled him to use earth release to turn his skin into diamond, making wounding him a daunting task and granting him increased strength. Fudo was also promised a taijutsu school and would be allowed to recruit from the academy. There was also Fuin, an elegant dark-haired woman who specializes in genjutsu, summoning, and space-time ninjutsu. She was promised a space-time ninjutsu branch inside in Hirito's Forbidden Arts department. Probably, the most surprising discovery from Hirito's followers was Uzumaki Fuka, a very beautiful redhead with blue eyes, plump lips with red lipstick, and a voluptuous body that most men would die for. Up until that point, Zabuza and Mangetsu had been under the impression that Naruto, Kushina, and her daughter were the only Uzumaki still alive. One can imagine their surprise when they met Fuka. Unfortunately, Fuka wouldn't be joining Kurigakure anytime soon. She was supposed to go on a very important long-term mission soon. According to Naruto, Fuka had a kinjutsu that made her immortal and she'd been alive for more than 90 years despite looking like an 18-year-old. The Kenjutsu also gave her the ability to utilize all 5 nature transformations, as if they were your main affinity, and she had mastered all of them. Zabuza thought that such a jutsu seemed too good to be true and that there should and must be some kind of drawback or drawbacks to it. And while he didn't know it for sure, he was right. Fuka had to steal people's souls in order to maintain her youth through her kiss of death technique. The stealing of a soul also transferred the victim's chakra to her, allowing her to use whatever nature transformation that person had for a limited period of time, usually about 5 years. She also had a weakness in that the life force of the people whose souls she stole was stored in her hair, therefore, her lifespan would shorten if someone damaged her hair and she would die if it was completely destroyed. The long-term mission she was embarking on was probably one of the most important missions in the Kiri Empire that Naruto was creating. She was required to make contact with Orochimaru and try to get close to him. Orochimaru was gathering forces for a new shinobi village that he was building, and Naruto wanted to integrate that village into the Kiri Empire. It would be easy for Fuka to ignite Orochimaru's interest. Orochimaru was obsessed with immortality and learning all the jutsu in the world. He wouldn't pass up the chance to work with someone who was immortal and had mastery of all the 5 basic nature transformations. Fuka was not only required to collect as much knowledge and information as she could from Orochimaru, but was also expected to form close bonds with the Odo shinobi and earn their trust. She would one day receive an order to eliminate Orochimaru and take over Itagikur no Sado. And on that day, Odo would officially become a branch of the Kiri Empire. Zabuza thought it was a good plan and wanted to know what other targets Naruto had. Naruto explained that he wanted to use the Uzumaki clan's power to unite the nations and that all he would use the members of the Uzumaki clan and other villages to do this. He explained that using family would eliminate trust issues between the various branches of the Kiri Empire. Naruto wanted to use Kushina to gain control of Konoha but expressed his concern that the plan could fail as it were. Kushina was powerful, yes, cage level easily, but the yellow flash was still alive and it would be hard to reach her without his interference. Also, Kushina now had a family with this man and many friends there already. She wasn't quite as isolated as the other Uzumakis were. In other words, her need to belong to something greater than herself, or her need to belong to a family, was not as strong as she already felt like she had exactly that with Minato, her daughter, and her friends in Konoha. Naruto explained that he would have to wait and see what happened in the future, maybe things would change. There were other Uzumakis of course, but Zabuza had assumed by the way Naruto spoke of Kushina that she was his only option he had and left it there, concluding that Naruto would figure out a plan somehow. That was just as well for Naruto. He certainly didn't want to share his plans for Uzumaki Taiya and Uzumaki Karen, both of Kusa, mainly because they were only little babies at that point in time. He certainly didn't want to say anything about Nagato of Omegakur, that would just cause too many questions that he wouldn't be able to answer, didn't want to answer rather. It is my job as the Mizukage to strive for the best for Kiri, but thank you anyway, I'm glad you agree with what I have done and what I plan to do. Naruto replied. Speaking of plans to do, why did we leave Kisame behind? Asked Zabuza with narrowed eyes. I thought I told you, I have a mission for Haruko, Kisame's participation is required for the success of the mission. Explained Naruto. Oh yeah, and what is it that Kisame can do that we couldn't have done on this so-called mission? Asked Mangetsu, eyes narrowed suspiciously. It's not something that you can't do, it's something that I don't want you to do. But you want him to do it. What is this thing that you want him to do exactly? Asked Zabuza, unnerved by the strange vibe coming from the blonde Uzumaki. I want him to die, he is a traitor. End chapter. What if Naruto was Swordsman of the Mist? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.